Chapter 305. Shinobu Hospital. The light in the operating room slowly went out, and Tsunade came out of the operating room with a tired face. Hinata and Ino quickly greeted him. "Naruto-sama, how is my father's injury?" "Don't worry. He's out of danger." Hinata and Ino breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. Although the relationship between Hinata and Yamanaka Inoichi was average, he was Ino's father after all. And this battle between Shinobu and Akatsuki was actually planned by Hinata and Black Zetsu. If Yamanaka Inoichi was seriously injured because of Hinata, Hinata would feel guilty for a long time. "Great." Hinata hugged Ino's shoulder and comforted her. "Uncle Inoichi is fine, Ino. You can finally rest assured." Ino's eyes were red, looking at Tsunade and sobbing. "Naruto-sama, thank you so much." After that, Ino bowed to Tsunade. Tsunade touched Ino's head and whispered, "As Naruto, I have the responsibility to protect every shinobu ninja. What's more, it was I who ordered Inoichi to perform such a dangerous task." After that, Tsunade turned his eyes to Hinata. "I have read the mission report." Before Hinata could speak, Tsunade's face instantly became serious. "Go back and rewrite it." "Hinata. That was my entire night of work," crying emoji. Following Tsunade back to the Naruto building, Hinata roughly reported the entire process of the mission, including some of his own analysis and guesses. Rinnegan appeared in the ninja world for the first time. Although it didn't make too much of a dazzling record, the opponent of Rinnegan this time was a ninja of Hinata's level. Tsunade won't underestimate the power of Rinnegan because of this. The injuries of Yamanaka Inoichi and Kakashi also illustrated the power of Rinnegan. Moreover, the real Rinnegan hidden behind the bodies of the 6 puppets created a small planet in the end. According to the analysis of the battlefield traces, Tsunade naturally linked the battle in the Fire Country to this battle. Although the difference in scale between the two is huge, it is obvious that the two battlefields were created by the same ninjutsu. Tsunade looked at the photo in his hand and said with certainty, "Rinnegan's real body is hidden behind the puppet, and his strength has been weakened to a certain extent. This may be because he was seriously injured in the war in the Land of Fire." Since Pain never reported his name from the beginning to the end, Hinata and Tsunade can only call Pain Rinnegan for the time being. Hinata nodded in agreement with Tsunade's reasoning. That's right. This guy ran to the Land of Fire to fight the enemy. He didn't put Shinobu in his eyes at all. The next time I meet him, I'll definitely teach him a lesson. The ninjas of the 5 major ninja villages can go to small countries to perform tasks at will, but the 5 major countries will not invade each other. The ninjas of other countries rashly entering the Land of Fire, without the consent of Shinobu, can be regarded as a provocation to Shinobu. Tsunade gave Hinata a blank look. "In fact, what makes me more curious is the guy who fought with Rinnegan." "Kacha." The office door was pushed open, and Jinin pushed the door in with a large stack of information. "Tsunade-sama, the information you want is here," Tsunade said lightly. "Put it on the sofa first." "Yes." Tsunade looked at Hinata and continued. "Hinata, the same trick. If the scale is as big as the Land of Fire, are you confident that you can escape?" Hinata thought for a moment. When Sasuke sealed Urishi in the future, the gravitational force of Chibaku Tensei was much stronger than this time. However, at that time, Hinata stood outside the range of the gravitational force, so he didn't have a clear judgment. "If it's just speculation," Hinata scratched his head and said honestly, "if the distance is too close, I shouldn't be able to escape." The most bug of Sasuke's Chibaku Tensei is that he doesn't need to release the gravitational black ball. Sasuke can directly use Chibaku Tensei as the center of gravity. Once locked by Sasuke's dojutsu, there is no way to escape unless you use your strength to break free. Tsunade's fingers tapped on the desk, her brows knitted together. Recently, the troublesome things kept happening one after another. Based on the analysis of the information currently available, the battle in the Land of Fire should be the battle between Rinnegan and the enemy outside the world. The enemy may be sealed in the asteroid, and Rinnegan was seriously injured as a result. In this way, at least part of the scene that Hinata, Naruto, and Jiraiya saw in the cave back then could be confirmed to be true. Outside the ninja world, there are more powerful enemies. And inside the ninja world, there may be a hidden clan, whose mission is to resist these enemies from outside the world. They may be from the Indra clan. This was originally a good thing, but this matter is now related to the organizations. Organizations are all S-class defected ninjas from various villages, and the purpose of the organization is almost certain to be to collect the nine-tailed beasts. But this purpose affects the interests of the 5 great ninja villages. It can be said that even if the purpose of the organizations is to resist more powerful enemies, the 5 great ninja villages won't easily hand over the tailed beasts. Once the organizations start to act, even if the entire ninja world is facing the threat of life and death from the enemy outside the world, the 5 great ninja villages and the Akatsuki will first determine the winner, and then the winner will fight against the enemy outside the world. This is human nature. Let's take a look at the information left by my grandfather first. After a long silence, Tsunade decided to put these things aside for the time being and investigate the secrets of history first. Focusing too much on the ownership of the tailed beasts will only make Tsunade doubt the justice he has always been upholding. These are the confidential information of the Senju clan. Jinin Hinata. I don't need to explain the discipline of the ninja. Hinata quickly assured. Don't worry, my mouth is very tight. Jinin also nodded, and then asked curiously, Tsunade-sama, haven't you read this information before? Tsunade shook his head and said, why would I be interested in this kind of thing when I was a child? Later, when the Second World War broke out, Jiraiya and I also rushed to the battlefield, so I didn't have the energy to study this. After a pause, Tsunade continued, let's take a look at it first. Yes. In addition to the most confidential information of the Senju clan, all the information that can be read by outsiders has been placed here. Hinata picked it up and began to flip through it. In this information, there are only speculations and analysis of the Six-Path Senin's era, and all the content looks very much like ancient legends, lacking substantial evidence. For example, uncertain words such as perhaps and should often appear. It can be seen that this information was recorded by later generations, and they compiled their own history based on the stories told by some of their ancestors. Hinata lost interest after a few glances. Chapter 306. Well, let's just read it as a historical novel written by Black Setsu. Tsunade and Jinin were seriously looking at the information. And Hinata didn't want to be special, it would be too eye-catching. Fortunately, there were some things worth looking at in this information. For example, some history of the Warring States period. Hashirama and Tobirama left a lot of records, especially some of Tobirama's views on the Uchiha clan. Inheriting the will of Senju Hashirama, even if Tobirama was hostile to the Uchiha, he didn't want the descendants of the Senju clan to continue to reject the Uchiha clan. The contradictions of the ancestors shouldn't be continued by the descendants. This is what Hashirama has always wanted to do. Many people felt that the position of the Shinobu police force pushed the Uchiha clan out of the Shinobu's power center. Because many of the authorities of this department overlapped with the Umbu, and the Umbu was Naruto's direct force, the Uchiha Shinobu police force naturally couldn't intervene in the Umbu's matters. It was like the relationship between the police and the agents, and the agents' rights were naturally greater than the police's. Inside the Uchiha clan, most of the clansmen regarded the Shinobu police force as the pride of the clan. At least the Hyuga clan didn't have such treatment as the Uchiha clan. The Hyuga clan was like an ordinary ninja clan from beginning to end. The ninjas of the Hyuga family either worked in various departments in the village, or joined the team to perform tasks. But a small number of Uchiha clansmen thought that the Shinobu police force was a shame. However, Tobirama's original intention of setting up this department was to guard against the Uchiha clan, and at the same time, to improve the relationship with the Uchiha clan. The Manjikyu Sharingan was too unstable. Only by restricting the Uchiha clan to the village and preventing them from seeing the death of their companions, the possibility of awakening the Manjikyu Sharingan could be completely cut off. During the Uchiha clan's existence, only people like Uchiha Obito, who was regarded as a disgrace by the Uchiha clan, weren't qualified to join the Konoha police force. In addition to this information, there were some speculations about Uchiha Madara. When Uchiha Madara first awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan, it was far from being as powerful as it was later. The side effects of the Manjikyu Sharingan were clearly reflected in Uchiha Madara. Take his brother's eyes? Hinata pretended to be puzzled. Look at this. Tsunade took the information from Hinata's hand and quickly glanced at it and frowned. Although it's a very important information, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with the matter at hand, Hinata said seriously. The hatred between Senju and the Uchiha clan has been going on for a long time, and it's not just because of the conflict between Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. If these two clans are from the Six Paths Sannin, then the Uchiha clan should be the descendants of Indra. In the previous genjutsu, Lascivious Sage and I both saw Indra's eyes, which are different from the three Tomo Sharingan, the Manjikyu Sharingan. After a pause, Hinata said, but the Six Paths Sennin's eyes are the Rinnegan. Jinin wondered. Hinata, what are you trying to say? Tsunade frowned. After thinking for a while, he was shocked. Hinata, you mean? Hinata took a deep breath, looked at Tsunade and said seriously, if the hatred between Senju and Uchiha comes from the conflict between Azura and Indra, then it can be explained why Senju and Uchiha have been fighting for so many years for no reason. Yes. Tsunade nodded in agreement. It's indeed very possible. Hinata carefully guessed. Then the Six Paths Sannin, who is the father of the two. At this point, the origin of the Rinnegan seemed to be on the verge of being revealed. The Rinnegan was most likely evolved from the Sharingan. First, he took his brother's eyes and evolved them into the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. And then he took. That's impossible. Tsunade was shocked and tried to deny it. It's been so many years, that person can't still be alive. And he died in the hands of my grandfather. Pushing the resurrection of Otsutsuki Kagaya from Black Zetsu to Uchiha Madara's attempt to use the power of the Jubi was the joint plan of Hinata and Black Zetsu. Only by weakening Black Zetsu's sense of existence in the history of the shinobi world can Otsutsuki Kagaya be truly whitewashed. After a little guidance, Hinata shook his head slightly. Then I don't know. Tsunade turned to look at Hinata and asked in a deep voice, Hinata, does your Hyuga family have any records of these things? During the Warring States period, although your Hyuga clan didn't participate in the war between Senju and Uchiha, there were also rumors in the shinobi world that your clan was also passed down from the Six Paths Sannin. Hinata shook his head and said innocently, I have seen some family information, but it's similar to this information. It's all ambiguous records. Tsunade's eyes were dignified. Up to now, in fact, many things have been very clear, but there seems to be a key point missing to connect all the things together. And there are still a lot of fog that hasn't been peeled off. But there is no doubt that the genjutsu that Hinata and Jiraiya saw in the cave is most likely real. Although Jiraiya judged that it was man-made based on experience, all the evidence now faintly shows that all of this happened in history. At the same time, in the secret base of Orochimaru, Zetsu slowly emerged from the ground. Zetsu, I have been waiting for you for a long time. Orochimaru suppressed the excitement in his heart, but his eyes flashed with incomparable excitement. Perhaps today, the mysterious Zetsu in front of him will reveal to Orochimaru a secret that he is very interested in. Orochimaru, Black Zetsu, who rarely speaks in front of the members of the organizations, was the first to speak. You are really different from the others. It seems that you have investigated a lot of information over the years. Speaking of this, Orochimaru was indeed proud of himself. Not to mention Black Zetsu, even Hinata, who is a transmigrator, admires Orochimaru's wisdom. As a ninja without the background of Otsutsuki, Orochimaru, with his own talent and wisdom, has personally analyzed the secrets of the Six Paths Sannin. This is something that no one in the ninja world has been able to do for thousands of years. Although Apothecary's Pocket in the original manga inherited everything from Orochimaru, his wisdom is much worse than Orochimaru's. He is not even worthy of carrying Orochimaru's shoes. Apothecary's Pocket just received the results of Orochimaru's research. If Orochimaru's plan goes well, he will first seize Sasuke's body, then use the power of Sharingan to invade Shinobu's body, get the Shinobu mask, unlock the Shiki seal, and get his hands back. After that, he will seize Itachi Uchiha's eyes and fuse with Hashirama's cells. If Orochimaru can do all this, he will be the next Six Paths Sannin. Without inheriting any bloodline, relying only on his own talent and wisdom, Orochimaru has found a way to become a god. Whether Orochimaru in the original manga was defeated by Sharingan, or by Indra Chakra in Sasuke's body, he is a real strong person. Chapter 307. The only thing that Orochimaru didn't have is that Abi didn't give him a hack. Even Apothecary's pocket can practice Sage Mode, but Orochimaru can't? This is simply unreasonable. If it's only because of physical limitations, then why don't you just change your body? And Orochimaru is so interested in the power of Sharingan, but Orochimaru didn't show up in person on the night of Uchiha's extermination. This is also very unreasonable. In order to get Kimimaro, Orochimaru personally arrived at the scene and abducted the young Kimimaro when the Shikatsu clan rebelled. Orochimaru in his heyday has no reason to be afraid of Shinobu, who has just experienced the chaos of Nine Tails, and is facing the threat of Uchiha's coup. 6 years ago, 3 generations was already very old, of course, no matter how many secrets Orochimaru managed to decipher. In front of Black Zetsu, the creator of history, and Hinata, the transmigrator, it was all too shallow. Black will never trust Orochimaru, but Orochimaru will keep secrets for Black Zetsu. As long as Orochimaru has his own desire, he will never betray Black Zetsu. It's because of this that Black Zetsu directly went to Orochimaru. Black Zetsu said bluntly, "It seems that you have judged the secret of Rinnegan." Ha 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 ha. Orochimaru laughed in a low voice, and he seemed a little proud. That's the secret that I analyzed after many years of investigation. At first I wasn't sure, but now I'm basically sure. The ultimate evolution of Sharingan is Rinnegan. Having said that, Orochimaru looked at Black Zetsu meaningfully and said, "If I'm not wrong, Uchiha Madara should have awakened Rinnegan, right? I found the bodies of Shodame and Shinobu, but I didn't find the body of Uchiha Madara. If Uchiha Madara really died, it's impossible for people like Shodame Naruto to give up studying Uchiha Madara." Many of Orochimaru's forbidden jutsu were learned from Tobirama, so he knew Tobirama very well. In Orochimaru's view, Tobirama may be another him, the one who became Naruto and was determined to protect Shinobu. And Orochimaru was another Senju Tobirama who abandoned everything and pursued the truth wholeheartedly. Although their choices are different, there are similarities between the two. Orochimaru doesn't believe that Senju Tobirama would give up studying Madara's eyes. Since Uchiha Madara's body is not in Shinobu, it means that Uchiha Madara is not dead. Black Zetsu looked at Orochimaru deeply. The man in front of him is really terrible. There is a forbidden technique in the Uchiha clan called Izanagi. At the cost of losing the light, all the harm suffered by the user, including death, are turned into a dream. Madara used this technique to avoid death. Orochimaru's eyes were slightly narrowed. Although he was curious about Izanagi, Orochimaru didn't care too much about it. Izanagi and Orochimaru Ryu substitution jutsu have some similarities. Although Orochimaru Ryu substitution jutsu can't avoid death, Orochimaru won't die immediately even if only half of his body is left. To some extent, the practical value of Orochimaru Ryu substitution jutsu was even higher than Izanagi's. What's more, Danzo's Sharingan and Hashirama's cells were transplanted by Orochimaru. As a test subject of Orochimaru, Danzo's secrets can't be hidden from Orochimaru. Is Madara the leader behind the Akatsuki? Orochimaru was a little confused, although it was a question. Orochimaru has denied it in his heart. If the leader behind the Akatsuki is Uchiha Madara, then with Uchiha Madara's character, he will never be so low-key. That is, unless he was already unreasonably old. It's not Madara. Since he came to cooperate with Orochimaru, Black Zetsu naturally has a certain sincerity. But the Rinnegan of the leader of the organizations used to be Madara's eyes. And Madara's spokesman is secretly planning everything. Orochimaru's eyes were slightly narrowed. At this moment, he has judged a lot of things. It seems that Madara's spokesman has betrayed you. Orochimaru stuck out his tongue and licked his lips, and said in a hoarse voice, "If I cooperate, what can I get?" Black Zetsu said in a low voice, "Madara's spokesman did not betray us, but but he has his own ideas, and our purpose is different from before. Now we have a higher pursuit. Orochimaru was puzzled. A higher goal? Black Zetsu said. If you can go that far, you will know everything. Orochimaru said. Excluding Madara's spokesman from US, it seems that in addition to me, you have other companions. Orochimaru is indeed very keen. Some of the information hidden in Black Zetsu's words were all captured by Orochimaru. Black Zetsu said. If you cooperate with me in addition to the Rinnegan, I will also tell you the secrets before the time of the Sage of the Six Paths. Black Zetsu doesn't mind telling Orochimaru some secrets, because Orochimaru is a dead man in Black Zetsu's eyes. Orochimaru is too good at seeking death. Sasuke is the reincarnation of Indra Chakra, and Orochimaru chose Sasuke as the next vessel. Unless Orochimaru's power can suppress Indra, he will eventually be swallowed by Sasuke. Even if he chooses Itachi Uchiha, it is more suitable than Sasuke. However, for now, Orochimaru still has enough value. In addition to the 9 tails in Namikaze Minato's body and Kimimaro, the Edo Tensei technique itself is valuable. In fact, in addition to Uchiha Bordered Soil's willfulness, Nagato's betrayal is also the main reason for the 4 Shinobi World Wars in the manga. Without Nagato's power, Black Zetsu and Bordered Soil no longer have the power to seize the 9 tails in Naruto's body. However, at this moment, Black Zetsu didn't take the initiative to start the 4 Shinobi World Wars. But if the organization seize the tailed beasts of the 5 great shinobi villages, they will definitely be jointly targeted by the 5 great shinobi villages. At this time, the power of the Edo Tensei is needed, and the more important purpose is to resurrect Uchiha Madara. Bordered Soil and Nagato may not resurrect Uchiha Madara. They want to use their own power to complete all the plans. Resurrecting Uchiha Madara in the form of Edo Tensei can secretly control all the plans. Since Orochimaru will die in the hands of Sasuke sooner or later, Black Zetsu will naturally have the opportunity to seize the Edo Tensei and resurrect Uchiha Madara in the form of Edo Tensei. The secret before the Sage of the Six Paths? Orochimaru's interest was really piqued by Black Zetsu. Black Zetsu said in a deep voice, "That is the ultimate secret of the shinobi world. As creatures, how can the 9 tails survive for thousands of years? After doing so much research, you should be curious about the secret of the tailed beasts, right? If you can solve all this, you can truly achieve immortality of the body and soul." Orochimaru almost didn't hesitate, and looked at Black Zetsu playfully. Then it's a deal. Chapter 308. After the War of the Waterfall Country ended, the ninja world returned to peace. The organizations entered a stage of full dormancy, making final preparations for the plan. As usual, Konoha was busy with all kinds of commission tasks. However, what enveloped this peace was an oppressive heaviness that made it hard for people to breathe. The War of the Fire Country. Perhaps some ninja villages haven't found any clues yet, but the cause and effect of the War of the Waterfall Country is almost no secret to the ninja world. Shinobu, Orochimaru, and the organizations had a 3-way war. From the results, Shinobu's mission was undoubtedly a failure, and the organizations won a comprehensive victory. Orochimaru joined the organizations. Shinobu retreated in embarrassment, and Shinobu's ninjas were also seriously injured. However, for the major ninja villages of the ninja world, the result of this war is not important at all. What is important is that this war let them see the threat of Shinobu and the organizations. Jonin is the high-end combat power of a ninja village, but no ninja village will regard an ordinary Jonin as a threat, because a Jonin can't fight against a war weapon like a ninja village. Jonin may represent a watershed. Jonin and below are weapons, they are the foundation of a ninja village. But ninjas above the Jonin strength are the real strong. And they are strong people that even the 5 great ninja villages won't easily offend. And when a ninja is strong enough to destroy a ninja village by himself, then he is a huge threat to other ninja villages. Coming to the battlefield of the Waterfall Country, you may not see the tragedy of this war, but you can certainly see the scope of this war. No ninja village can be safe under such an attack. And Shinobu's Hinata is a ninja who can fly. She is powerful, has mastered ninjutsu with great destructive power, and can come and go freely. When all these halos shrouded Hinata's head, Hinata became a super strong person who can decide the outcome of a war. And when this super strong person stands in the position of Shinobu, Shinobu stands at the peak of the ninja world. But for the other 4 great ninja villages, no one wants to see Shinobu stand at the peak of the ninja world. Fortunately, Shinobu has always been a village that yearns for peace. The situation of one village is not something that hasn't been experienced in the ninja world, and they can at least tolerate it a little. But the threat of the organizations has become an existence that can't be ignored. An organization composed of all S-class ninjas, they can't be a volunteer organization that cares for children, right? In the past, the major ninja villages were able to tolerate the existence of the Akatsuki organization. After all, the Akatsuki organization hasn't shown its full strength yet. Only a few members of the Akatsuki who were carrying out missions outside, although dangerous, they didn't pose too much of a threat. But now is different. Konoha will not hide the information about the Rinnegan. The more he knows about the organizations, the more he feels that this organization will definitely threaten the entire ninja world in the future. When Shinobu informed the other 4 great ninja villages about the Rinnegan and the Edo Tensei, the threat of the organizations instantly rose to the level of public enemy of the ninja world. Especially when Tsuchikage, Reikage, and Sand heard that their Kages were summoned by Orochimaru. They publicly declared that they must kill Orochimaru. In this case, the pressure on Shinobu was reduced a lot. Hyuga residents. Hyogo, whose strength has greatly improved recently, not only is he more energetic in his work, he even wants to have a son. Hyuga family can't be regarded as a patriarchal family. After all, it's an internal marriage, and having a boy or a girl is the same. However, for Hyogo, it's a pity that he doesn't have a son. After all, his old rival Uchiha Fugaku has 2 sons, while Hyogo only has 2 daughters. Hyogo is busy with work and making babies, which gives Hinata enough freedom. Recently, in addition to going to work, Hinata also found a new hobby, studying puppet technology. The luxurious puppet car that Kankuro gave to Hinata has been dismantled by Hinata. Looking at the scattered parts of the puppet car, Hinata found that it's really easy to make a puppet car. The puppet is controlled by chakra, so its structure is not as complicated as modern technology. Especially when there are no mechanisms installed, there are only so many parts to assemble the puppet. If the puppet is used for combat, then the mechanism technology of the puppet is extremely complicated. But if it's just for living, then it's very simple. As long as one part of the puppet can move, then it can be controlled by chakra. The main difficulties of the Sand Village's puppet technology are the hidden weapon technology and controlling the puppet to fight. But the movement of the puppet itself is actually very simple. In a messy room, Hinata sat on the floor, surrounded by a mess of parts and tools. Hinata was currently assembling a small puppet robot as the first step of her research on puppet technology. The material used to make the puppet is chakra wood, which is quite conductive. This kind of wood is not expensive, and with the financial resources of the Hyuga family, it can be easily bought. The idea of becoming a scientist is not a spur-of-the-moment idea of Hinata. After all, ninjutsu can only be used for fighting, but whether it's an ordinary person or a ninja, they live a normal life at most, including the space travel that Hinata plans. In the future, he can't just casually find a barren planet and sleep in the wild, right? Too sophisticated technology, Hinata can't do it. But the simpler puppet technology, Hinata can still learn. Pressing the last part, Hinata put the puppet on the ground and nodded with satisfaction. Although the shape is a bit bad, at least the joints can be moved. Chakra thread is a secret technique of the Sand Village. Although this thread looks ordinary, the technique of manipulating puppets through chakra thread is extremely clever. Fortunately, chakra thread itself is not difficult to learn, and Shinobu happens to have a man who is said to have copied thousands of ninjutsu, connecting the chakra thread to the puppet. Hinata stared at the puppet closely and carefully manipulated it to take a step forward. A soft sound. This is a small step for the puppet, but a big step for Hinata. With this step, Hinata opened a door to the puppet world. Great! Hinata cheered excitedly. Now that the puppet has been successfully developed, the next step is to study the space station and the spaceship. In fact, in Hinata's view, if there is an infinite chakra source like Ninetales, it is completely feasible to support a space station to travel in the universe. Compared to modern technology, puppet technology is very different because of the different energy used, and the technical difficulty of the two is also very different. Although wooden puppets are not strong. What if a spaceship is made of metal that can conduct chakra, and then use the infinite chakra source as the driving energy? Hinata's imagination is running wild, and he feels that his future is full of infinite possibilities. Chapter 309. Chakra metal is a very rare resource in the ninja world. Even Asuma, the son of Naruto, only made 2 short blades with chakra metal. However, Hinata has some speculations about the origin of chakra metal. Although Kaguya Otsutsuki is known as the ancestor of chakra, in Hinata's view, she only spread the method of making chakra, but chakra itself was not created by Kaguya Otsutsuki. Physical energy and spiritual energy can be regarded as a kind of biological energy, which is used to maintain the survival of living creatures. When these 2 kinds of energy are extracted and merged into one, it will produce a magical effect that allows humans to use various magical ninjutsu. The sacred tree is a medium that transforms natural energy into vitality. When humans absorb the vitality of the sacred tree, they can evolve their life, thereby increasing the amount of chakra, and even improving the quality of chakra. The metal that conducts chakra may be a kind of metal that was born under the erosion of chakra year after year. Since ancient times, the largest amount of chakra was gathered during the period when the sacred tree was still there. This is like the formation of blood jade. By planting the sacred tree, while cultivating the sacred tree, a large amount of chakra metal can be produced. Then these chakra metal can be used to make spaceships that can travel in space. If it's just for sturdiness, only a metal shell made of chakra metal can be made, and the interior of the spaceship can be made of chakra wood. Once Hinata's idea is successful, maybe the Hyuga clan will have a chance to become a universe family, just like the current Otsutsuki clan. But in this way, Otsutsuki doesn't seem to be a big deal. Hinata curled her lips in disdain, and decided not to call herself Otsutsuki in the future. I can't afford to lose face. If the Hyuga clan can enter the universe, then wouldn't I, Hinata, become the queen of the universe? He. The more Hinata thought about it, the more excited he became. He began to giggle to himself. Think about Frieza in Dragon Ball. Although he didn't have a good ending, he was definitely the most powerful boss in Dragon Ball. After laughing for a long time, Hinata finally calmed down. Looking at the rough craftsmanship of the puppet on the floor, Hinata couldn't help but feel that this thing is far from high-end technology such as spaceships and space stations. Alright, there was still a long way to go. Furthermore, this wasn't something that could be done by one person. However, if he finds an opportunity in the future, he can discuss with Hyogo about the feasibility of the Hyuga clan's march into the universe. Hinata, who understands the vastness of the universe, always feels that the ninja world is too small. Hinata, this world isn't enough for me to deal with alone. At present, the most skilled ninja in the ninja world is Sasori. It's definitely unrealistic to ask him for the puppet technique, but after Sasori dies, he can receive his research results. With his ability, it's easy to find all the secret bases of Sasori. After making a development plan, the next step is to work hard on the puppet technique. Hinata's learning burden is very heavy now. It's almost the same as before the college entrance examination in his previous life. He has to learn Fuinjutsu, practice gentle fist, learn medical ninjutsu, and now he has to learn puppet technique. Hinata has the idea of quitting his job as Naruto's secretary. According to Hinata's previous idea, it's relatively easy to change from Naruto's secretary to Naruto's consultant. After that, he can stay in Shinobu and watch the rise and fall of the ninja world. However, with the change of his mind, the comfortable life is getting farther and farther away from Hinata. It's okay to relax occasionally, but if he stays idle all the time, it's simply a waste of his talent and the opportunity to cross over. Hinata is not a sloppy person, with a more ambitious goal. Hinata also needs more time to learn a variety of knowledge to enrich himself. After tidying up the room, Hinata sat at the desk and wrote a resignation letter. Using learning ninjutsu as the reason to resign, the probability of Tsunade agreeing is very high. And with Hinata's status today, unless it's a very difficult task, Hinata can stay in the Hyuga family. After all, Hinata is going to inherit the main family. He has to learn how to manage the family. Hinata lazily stretched. Hinata, you're finally going to start a new life. The next morning, Hinata went to Naruto's office at 8 o'clock in the morning and handed the resignation letter he wrote last night to Tsunade. Have you thought about it? Tsunade looked at Hinata and asked in a serious tone. Although this job is cumbersome, you should understand what the position of Naruto's secretary means since you were born in the Hyuga clan. Hinata nodded. Naruto's secretary means that he can get close to Naruto, access to the village's high-level secrets, and create a more favorable political environment for the family to strive for more benefits. According to Hinata's previous ideals, this job is indeed suitable for Hinata. The current me is no longer the previous me, Hinata said solemnly. The previous Hinata is dead, and now I am the new Hinata. Tsunade was very surprised when he heard this. Although the previous Hinata was very talented, he always gave people the impression that he was lazy and unreliable. Although he changed a lot after graduation, it was actually the same. Did something happen? Tsunade asked curiously. What made you change? As Naruto's secretary, Tsunade certainly can't ignore a ninja like Hinata. The meaning of this resignation letter is different. Resigning from the position of Naruto's secretary and returning to the family, even if Hinata still has the identity of Shinobu, his heart is for the family, not for the village. Of course, it's not a problem to the outside, but internally, this matter is likely to have a major impact. And even if Hinata is for the family, the position of Naruto's secretary is also important to the Hyuga family. Taking a deep breath, Hinata explained. The main thing is that I need to learn too many ninjutsu recently, and there is no way to arrange the time. Yes. Handing a plan to Tsunade, Hinata continued. This is the development plan I made before. It may be useful to the village. Tsunade put the plan aside and said after a moment of hesitation. Since it's your decision, then I have no reason to refuse. Hinata saluted and said, Thank you. After that, Hinata turned and left Naruto's office. After Hinata left, Jinin came to Tsunade's side and said with a complicated tone, Tsunade-sama, Tsunade intended to train Hinata to be her successor and serve as the 6th Naruto of Shinobu. Although Hinata is from the Hyuga family, Tsunade herself is also from the Senju clan, and the 3 generations of Naruto Sarutobi is also from the Sarutobi clan. Shinobu has 5 Naruto, 4 of them are from the ninja clan. Hinata's identity is actually not a problem, and Shinobu doesn't reject the Hyuga family as much as the Uchiha family. However, with this resignation letter, the position of Hinata and Naruto seems to be getting farther and farther apart. Chapter 310. Every decision made through one's own will. There is no reason for outsiders to object. Tsunade got up and walked to the window, looking at the scenery outside the window, and slowly said, A person standing at a different height will see different scenery. This is the biggest difference between Tsunade and 3 generations Naruto. 3 generations Naruto looks amiable, but his desire for control is quite strong. Even Danzo is actually under the control of 3 generations. But Tsunade is different, she will give people a certain degree of freedom. The only thing that is constant in this world is change. Tsunade is more than 50 years old this year, and has traveled the ninja world for so many years, whether it is through herself or through others, she has enough understanding of the changes in people's mentality. When Hinata was still a genin, he naturally wanted to live a comfortable life, live happily, and live without any burden. But now Hinata is standing at the peak of the ninja world, and he sees a different scenery. Even if Hinata also wants to live happily and without any burden, the way he lives will also change. Hinata wants to study ninjutsu, which was completely impossible in the past. In the past, Hinata was not lazy. When a person begins to do something with his heart, in addition to interest, the biggest reason is that he has a dream. I already have a dream. Tsunade murmured, although it seems that she doesn't care, there is a trace of worry in her heart. With a dream, There must be a plan, and with a plan, it will be unswervingly carried out. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru are all people with dreams, but the way they achieve their dreams is different. Tsunade and Jiraiya have Shinobu as their fetters. Even if they go far, they will eventually return here. But Orochimaru cut off all fetters, cut off all ties with the past, and pursued his dream wholeheartedly. So, what will Hinata, who has a dream, do? Leaving Naruto, Hinata's mood is also very complicated. It's not that he is reluctant, but it's a kind of sadness to say goodbye to the past completely. Hinata's dream has changed from Naruto to Cosmic Queen. This change in mentality is not only caused by the improvement of strength, but also more caused by experience. The more scenery you see, the bigger your heart will naturally be. Hinata, who is already standing at the peak of the ninja world, can't stay in Shinobu and enjoy life at ease. That kind of trivial things are not suitable for the current Hinata. It was very difficult for a person who had walked out to walk back in. After buying a large bag of delicacies, Hinata once again went to the Hokage Rock, looking down at Konoha while enjoying the delicious food. I haven't been here for a long time. In the past, Hinata felt that Shinobu was very big, but now Hinata can fly from Shinobu's side to Shinobu's side in just a few seconds. Too small. Uchiha Madara said in the original work. This world is too small for me to toss around alone. When he looked at Naruto before, Hinata thought that Uchiha Madara's words were pretentious. But when Hinata stood at the same height as Uchiha Madara, he found that it was just Uchiha Madara's most sincere words. It's really too small. Even if I were to rule this world, I would still find it dull and boring. Hinata is still a lazy person, but even if Hinata wants to live like a salted fish, he has to be a salted fish as the queen of the universe, not as the Naruto consultant. The ninja world is just a starting point for Hinata, but it's not the end of Hinata's journey. The vast and boundless universe above his head is the stage of Hinata's future. Even if he wants to dance, there needs to be a bigger stage. Just like in Hinata's previous life, the gap between the street performance and the world stage is like heaven and earth. For Hinata, the current shinobi world is just a small stage on the street for commercial performances. Behind him, footsteps slowly came. Did something happen? Hyogo's voice was low and serious. It was the first time he took the initiative to talk to Hinata. Yes. Looking at the Shinobu village below, it was quiet and peaceful. All the chaos in the outside world seemed to have nothing to do with here. The breeze was gentle, and Hinata's eyes were a little blurred. Father, do you think Shinobu is big? Hyogo was silent and didn't speak. Just one sentence. Hyogo has already noticed the change in Hinata's mentality. He touched his eyes. Unconsciously, Hyogo's mentality has actually changed a lot. This is the second pair of Rinnegan in the ninja world. With the Rinnegan Dojutsu, although Hyogo doesn't call himself a god, like Nagato, deep in his heart, he will unconsciously put himself in a very high position. Hinata has been staying in the position of Naruto's secretary before, and Tsunade also intended to train Hinata. Hyogo didn't have the idea of launching a coup, but Hinata resigned today. So Hyogo wants to know what Hinata's thoughts are. Naruto's position is no longer tempting. This kind of refusal and Hinata's previous refusal to be Naruto are two completely different concepts. In the past, it was because of laziness, but now Hinata has a more ambitious dream. The father and daughter were silent for a moment. Then Hinata continued, Father, have you ever thought about changing the Hyuga family? Hyogo walked to Hinata's side and looked down at Shinobu with Hinata, and said faintly, Yes. Every patriarch has the idea of changing the family, and developing the family better is not only their responsibility, but also their dream. I also have, Hinata said softly. But my dream is big, so big that even I'm not sure about it. Hyogo looked into the distance and said slowly, Can you tell me about it? In the past, Hyogo would never agree with Hinata's resignation from the position of Naruto's secretary, not to mention that Tsunade intended to train Hinata. But now it's different. After the father and daughter's strength has greatly increased, their mentality has also begun to expand. Yes. Hinata nodded slightly and said softly, The chakra I gave you last time was extracted from a guy called Otsutsuki Urishiki. The Otsutsuki clan is a clan from the universe. In the legend of the ninja world, Rakudo Sennin, Rakudo Sennin's younger brother, and Rakudo Sennin's mother are all members of the Otsutsuki clan. And our Hyuga clan is the descendant of Rakudo Sennin's younger brother, Otsutsuki Hamura. Hyogo was horrified, but his face maintained the same icy expression, quietly waiting for Hinata's next words. Hinata looked up at the sky. After understanding all this, my heart is very clear that one day I will return to this family. But now it's different. Hyuga is Hyuga, Otsutsuki is Otsutsuki, and I will enter the unknown world as the patriarch of the Hyuga family. Chapter 311. Today there is only one chapter, but 3 chapters will be released together. A total of 6,000 words. Try this update mode. Originally, Hinata didn't want to reveal his cards to Hyogo so quickly. After all, some things are not easy to explain. However, there are always some things in this world that happen naturally. When Hyogo asked, Hinata suddenly didn't want to continue to hide. Father, can you understand this? Hyogo was silent, looking at the blue sky in his field of vision. The horror in his heart couldn't be calmed down for a long time. Although Hinata's words shocked him, it was not to the extent that he couldn't understand. Hyogo quickly calmed down. With decades of life experience, and even experienced 2 shinobi world wars, Hyogo can easily accept these incredible things. But when thinking of the uncertain future, Hyogo's heart suddenly became a little confused. People standing at a high place can see far, far away. But if the position is not high enough, but still want to look far away, naturally, the scenery in the distance can't be seen clearly. Hyogo asked with a complicated tone. Hinata, what are you going to do? Hinata played with his hair, and turned to look at Hyogo. He didn't expect this man who has always been calm and composed to have times of uncertainty. The Otsutsuki clan enhances their strength and extends their lifespan by absorbing the sacred tree. If we want to understand the universe and the sacred tree, we must have the Otsutsuki clan to guide us. In the legend of the ninja world, the monster defeated by the Sage of the Six Paths is actually his mother, Kaguya Otsutsuki. The Sage of the Six Paths sealed Kaguya with Chibaku Tensei, and formed today's moon. Chibaku Tensei is the move used by the Akatsuki leader. Hyogo frowned. You want to let her out? If Kaguya Otsutsuki is really the monster defeated by the Sage of the Six Paths, then judging from the legend of the ninja world, she is too dangerous. Yes. Hinata nodded and said, I think so. Huey is indeed dangerous, but I'm not completely unprepared. Hinata told Hyogo about Huey's personality and his plans. After hearing this, Hyogo's heart gradually calmed down. Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata could work together to seal Huiyi. If Hinata's judgment was correct, then Huiyi's threat was not that great. Hinata added, although I don't really like Huey's character, she's the only person I can think of to guide us. Actually, we can come up with an idea. Huey used absolute power to intimidate the world, bringing peace to the world. Although she used living people to create white Zetsu, it was far less than 100,000. The 100,000 white Zetsu of the 4th Shinobi World, Shinobi World, Shinobi World, Shinobi World, Shinobi Chakra, and Hashirama's cells cloned from Yamato's body. If Kaguya lives for 1,000 years, then the Shinobi world can be peaceful under her deterrence for 1,000 years. It seems that the only unnatural deaths are those people who were made into white Zetsu by her. However, the ninja sect created by the Sage of the Six Paths for the sake of world peace made the ninja world fight for thousands of years, and even children of a few years old were sent to the battlefield. His imagination ended. From the perspective of Hinata's previous life's values, Otsutsuki Kaguya killed people and committed a crime, so she should be punished by the law, which is understandable, because life could not be measured by value. But the values of the ninja world are not like this. In the ninja world, killing people is casual. Which ninja hadn't killed someone before? There are ninjas fighting every day in the ninja world, and the fundamental reason for the constant fighting in the ninja world is actually the ninjas themselves. Shinobu's Chunin exam even allowed candidates to kill during the exam. The only thing that could still be considered humane was that the examiner would stop the murder from happening when the outcome of the competition had been determined. But in the Chunin exam, killing by mistake can be forgiven. So from the perspective of the ninja world's values, although Otsutsuki Kagaya was creating white Zetsu, she maintained the world's peace. Even the reason why Otsutsuki Kagaya created white Zetsu was to resist the rebels of the Otsutsuki clan. It's like the ninjas of the 5 major countries fighting each other, but using peace and justice as an excuse for this kind of fighting. Orochimaru experimented on living people. He killed countless people in his life. But even so, there was still no law that could punish him. After the Fourth Shinobi World War, Orochimaru was cleared. If Kagaya is measured by the values of the ninja world, what's the difference between what she did and what the 5 major countries did? The 5 major countries kill people every day, but they can only maintain the peace of their countries. While Kagaya kills people, she can maintain the world's peace. It's just that Kagaya didn't find a reasonable excuse for her behavior. However, in contrast, although the purpose of the Sage of the Six Paths was good, ninja sect made the world fight for thousands of years. This was a crime committed by the Sage of the Six Paths because of his ignorance. So although Hinata didn't like Kagaya's character, after getting used to the values of the ninja world, Hinata also hated the Sage of the Six Paths. Because the Sage of the Six Paths underestimated the evil in human nature. The Sage of the Six Paths was like a naughty child who caused great damage to the world. We can't blame him because he was ignorant, because his intentions were good. But now there is a very serious problem in front of Hyogo. The world. Hyogo and Hinata are different. Hinata is not a person of this world, so even if Hinata has enough fetters to the Hyuga family and Shinobu, these fetters are not enough to tie down Hinata and make Hinata emotional. So Hinata can say without any psychological burden that when Naruto and Tsunade no longer have a relationship with the 3 Holy Lands, he will return to the ninja world to harvest the 3 Holy Lands and take the natural energy. Hinata's fetters to his family and village are actually only a few people. But Hyogo is a person of this world. He hasn't experienced other worlds. So his fetters are not only the Hyuga family. Hyogo has a kind of fetters to Shinobu and even to the ninja world. Not everyone is Orochimaru. Abandoning the world is a kind of indescribable loneliness and confusion, just like Hinata's discomfort when he first crossed over. As long as there is no one familiar to Hinata in the ninja world, Hinata can make the world green without any psychological burden. But if he returns to the earth of his previous life, even if there are no familiar relatives and friends on the earth, Hinata won't plant trees on the earth. After a long time, Hyogo sighed and said, Hinata, I won't stop you from pursuing your dream. But if you want to hurt the world, I will stop you even if I have to risk my life. Hinata chuckled and said slowly, it turns out that the sacred tree won't hurt the world, and the 3 Holy Lands can't represent the world. It was the Rakuto Sunnin who spread the truth of chakra to the world and established the religion of ninja. The animals of the 3 Holy Lands are really not the same species as us. So the 3 Holy Lands hide the senjutsu and restrict ninja from learning it. Slowly getting up, Hinata continued, but the Otsutsuki clan isn't a good thing either. They are also very greedy. But it is also because of this that I have the idea of bringing the Hyuga family into the universe. Hyogo said indifferently, selfishness is human nature, and so is the Hyuga family. Hinata said noncommittally, that's why I made this selfish decision. Father-sama, what is your decision? Hinata turned to look at Hyogo and said softly, I can understand your contradiction, because I once had such a contradiction. Although we will give up some things, we will also gain some things because of it. It depends on which one is more important in your heart. Hyogo stared at Hinata's eyes, and in his pure white pupils, there was no longer the mischievous look that he had when he was young. You have grown up, Hinata. Hyogo was somewhat gratified, but more complicated. Hyogo has always been looking forward to Hinata being able to think about these issues. He has always been looking forward to Hinata growing up. But when Hinata really grew up, Hyogo suddenly had an indescribable complex emotion. When children gradually grow up, it means that they will leave their parents and start an independent life. Hinata has his own dreams and pursuits. Hinata, whose wings are gradually maturing, wants to leave the warm nest and longs for the free sky. But Hyogo is not an eagle flying in the sky. As the patriarch of the Hyuga family, he has too many burdens and responsibilities. What he has to consider is not only the glory of the Hyuga clan, but also the long-term existence of the Hyuga clan. The main family and the branch family system is to better protect the Hyuga family, Hyogo said in a deep voice. The development of the family needs stability. I can't easily make an irresponsible decision for that uncertain future, even if it is tempting. When the Uchiha people decided to coup, they were also very confident, but it turned out that they were just arrogant. Turning to look at Hinata, Hyogo continued. As a father, I am very confident in my daughter, and I can support you in pursuing the future you want. But as the patriarch, I must take responsibility for this family. I can't take the family to an uncertain future. The future depicted by Hinata is a very tempting picture. Putting aside the reluctance to part with the ninja world, Hyogo also yearns for the day when the Hyuga clan can rule the universe. But to achieve this is far more difficult than Uchiha's coup. Hinata nodded slightly. I can understand. Emotions are a great power. We can risk our lives, but we don't want to implicate our family and friends. Hyogo looked into the distance, and a trace of struggle flashed in his eyes. I will discuss with the elders of the family to set up a separate branch in addition to the main family and branch family. Since you said that the Otsutsuki clan is divided into main family, and branch family, then this branch is the Hyuga main family. Hinata, this branch of the main family will be led by you to create a different future for the Hyuga family. Yes. Hinata nodded vigorously. To be able to do this is already Hyogo's limit. It's not that Hyuga Hayashi wasn't attracted by Hinata's ideals, but he had more fetters. For the continuation of the Hyuga family, he can only make such a decision. I'll go back first, Hyogo said lightly and turned away from Naruto. He needs to find a quiet place to think about how the Hyuga family will develop in the future. Before proposing the concept of main family, Hyogo wanted to let the main family and branch family take root in Shinobu. But when Hyogo thought about how the family will develop in Shinobu, the things described by Hinata lingered in his mind. It's difficult for people to go out and come back. It's not because they have no feelings for their hometown, but because they have seen a wider world. If the current Hinata returns to Earth to be an ordinary person, Hinata will definitely not be willing. If one day in the future, Hinata finds Earth in the vast universe, maybe he will go back and live for a few days to experience the peaceful life of the people on Earth. But Hinata will leave in the end. Hinata watched Hyogo's figure gradually disappear, and he felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. 13 years, although the goodbye at this moment is said many years in advance, the day of parting will eventually come. After eating all the delicious food, Hinata also left Naruto. For fun, Hinata used to stand here as Naruto and look down on Shinobu, but now he no longer has any interest. Maybe this is the so-called growing up. Back at the Hyuga residence, Hinata continued to study Fuinjutsu and Puppet Jutsu, working hard to improve his ability and lay a solid foundation for his dreams. Shinobu's life is peaceful and warm. In the small courtyard, Hinata taught the technique of 20 Gods Empty Strike to Huahua. Looking at Huahua working hard in the small courtyard, sweat soaking her clothes, Hinata suddenly felt a lot of emotions. In the past, Hinata knew that Huahua worked so hard to cultivate in order to protect the Hyuga family and Shinobu. But in the past, Hinata didn't understand these things. Things like dreams used to be too far away from Hinata's life. But when Hinata really has a dream to pursue, he understood the meaning of hard work. Well, in his perception, Zetsu's figure suddenly appeared for a moment, and then disappeared. Huahua, sister still has something to do, you can cultivate by yourself for a while. When sister comes back, I will check your cultivation progress. Yes. Huahua stood obediently and looked at Hinata with her big eyes until Hinata left, then she continued to cultivate. Coming to the back mountain of Shinobu, Hinata waited quietly at the place where he first met Zetsu. Zetsu drilled half of his body out of a trunk. Oh, White Zetsu said cheerfully. Guess what happened in the shinobi world recently? This is a super big secret. Hinata heard this and said, Ha! Shut up, White Zetsu. Black Zetsu said. Hinata, I am looking for you this time because there is a very important thing I need your help with. What is it? Just after answering Black Zetsu, Hinata couldn't help but ask curiously, "What happened in the shinobi world recently?" Black Zetsu said, "It is estimated that Shinobu will soon receive the information about the fourth Reikage and Orochimaru." Hinata asked curiously, "The two of them fought? And the result?" Black Zetsu explained, "The fourth Reikage has a bad temper. When he heard that his father was played by Orochimaru, he immediately threatened to kill Orochimaru. A few days ago, the Reikage seemed to have convinced the Cloud Village's leaders. He suddenly led a large number of Cloud ninjas to leave the Cloud Village and look for the whereabouts of Orochimaru." Hinata: "If the Reikage makes a move, the Tsuchikage won't be indifferent, right?" Hinata suddenly felt a little worried. Black Zetsu was surprised. How can the Tsuchikage and the Reikage act together? Since the Reikage has already made a move, the Tsuchikage will naturally be happy to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Okay. Hinata shrugged helplessly. He really can't look at the relationship between the Reikage and the Tsuchikage from the perspective of the Fourth Shinobi World War. But this matter has little to do with Shinobu. Black Zetsu: "What do you want?" Black Zetsu said, "It's about the Shiki Fujin. If you want to unlock the Shiki Fujin, you must get the Uzumaki Shinobu mask, and the Uzumaki's name hall is somewhere in Shinobu. I haven't found any information about it yet." Hinata said casually, "You mean the name hall?" "The name hall of the Uzumaki clan is in the northwest of the village. There are usually no guards there. In the past, no one would care about these masks. But recently, there have always been Roots ninjas patrolling there." Black Zetsu nodded. "It seems that it is there. The name hall of the Uzumaki clan is not an important building in Shinobu. At most, it is a place to commemorate the Uzumaki clan who were once allies of Shinobu." White Zetsu said, "If it is not an important place, with the ability of bordered soil and eye, we can easily get the Shiki Fujin." Black Zetsu calmly analyzed, "But Orochimaru has already joined the organizations. Danzo is very careful. Orochimaru, who lost his hands, may not have the ability to get the Shiki Fujin, but it doesn't mean that the organizations can't do it." Hinata nodded deeply. It is impossible for Danzo to not consider the organizations. Danzo may have guessed that Shinobu's plan to encircle Orochimaru was planned by the organizations. Perhaps Danzo can't figure out the purpose of the organizations inviting Orochimaru for the time being, but since the organizations have a need for Orochimaru, Orochimaru will definitely take the opportunity to put forward conditions. If the Shiki Fujin is transferred, it will be troublesome. Hinata frowned. "I will use the Byakugan to explore it in a while. The Roots base is not big. It will be easy to find it if we want to. There is one more thing." Black Zetsu looked at Hinata and said, "I have cooperated with Orochimaru and got the relevant information about Kimimaro. But considering that your identity must be kept secret, and you haven't absorbed the ability of chakra for the time being, I didn't say anything about resurrecting Kimimaro." Hinata touched his eyes and whispered, "It should be done soon." Since absorbing the power of Urushi, Hinata's bloodline awakening speed is getting faster and faster. The power of the Byakugan is also getting stronger and stronger. Hinata can even clearly feel that there is a magical energy flowing into his eyes. Black Zetsu handed the information about Kimimaro to Hinata, and Hinata looked at it. In addition to the information about Kimimaro's body, there was also information about Kimimaro's ninjutsu. The content of the information was very detailed. "It seems that Orochimaru shouldn't be cheating on this matter. Zetsu, I have been studying puppet jutsu recently. If you have time, help me investigate the location of Sasori's secret base." Black Zetsu nodded and then said, "Hinata, this matter should not be delayed. Let's act immediately." "Okay." Byakugan. With Shinobu's location, Hinata can see almost all corners of the village after activating the Byakugan. Root's base has never been a secret to Hinata. Even if there is an anti-perception barrier there, it can only slightly reduce the visual clarity of Hinata. "Found it." Hinata slightly raised the corner of his mouth and chuckled. Danzo was really prepared. He hid a Shinigami's mask around him, but that mask is fake. The real Shinigami's mask is on the face of a Root ninja. As early as when he decided to cooperate with Orochimaru, Hinata has already seen the Shinigami's mask in the face hall with the Byakugan. As a ninja tool with special abilities, the Shinigami's mask naturally has its own special chakra reaction. Putting the mask on the face of a root ninja. Humph. Sure enough, it's Danzo's style. Black Zetsu guessed. The guards around Danzo should be very lax, right? Hinata nodded. Yes. Danzo basically has no guards around him. Black Zetsu said in a low tone. The mask in the face hall is fake, and the average person will naturally think that the mask around Danzo is the real one. If we get that mask, Orochimaru will have to give his soul to the Shinigami when he uses Shikifujin. Orochimaru knows that he will die, and thinking about Akatsuki's failure, he may drag someone to the grave with him before he dies. Hinata listened and nodded again and again. Danzo's plan is really good. If Bordered Soil or Black Zetsu really gets the fake Shinigami's mask, Orochimaru will definitely die. Black Zetsu continued. Leave the matter of the Shinigami's mask to us. His eyes turned to Hinata. Although continuing to lurk in Shinobu has no benefit for us, but this is your own decision. Hinata knew what Black Zetsu meant, and said in a solemn tone. I have made up my mind. Then goodbye. After saying that, Black Zetsu slowly sank into the ground and disappeared. Hoo! With a light sigh, Hinata turned around and walked back to the village. The addition of Orochimaru means that all the plans are on the right track. Next, he just needs to wait for the organizations to collect the bijou, and then harvest the results of the organizations. Returning to the Hyuga residence, Hinata sneaked back to his small courtyard. Seeing Hanabi diligently practicing in the small courtyard, Hinata suddenly rushed out of the corner and pounced on the unprepared Hanabi, like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey. Sister, don't make trouble. Hanabi's face was full of helplessness. The existence of Byakugan made playing hide and seek no fun. Seeing that he didn't scare Hanabi, Hinata became angry and reached his evil hands under Hanabi's armpits. Ha 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 ha. Sister, don't make trouble. Spare me. After fooling around with Hanabi for a while, Hinata got up with satisfaction and snorted. Little girl, how's your practice? Hanabi said with a red face. Sister, I can already condense meridians. Great. Hinata patted Hanabi's little head and praised. Keep up the good work. When you get used to the state of 20 Gods Empty Strike, you can use Air Palm and Mountain Break through 20 Gods Empty Strike. Hanabi nodded again and again, stretched out her right hand and quickly condensed Chakra Fist. In the vision of Byakugan, the meridians and acupoints in the Chakra Fist were clearly visible. Sister, look. Although I can't do it like Sister, I used this move and hit Shinobu Maru. Hinata curiously asked. Hanabi, why did you hit Shinobu Maru? Hanabi put her hands on her waist and complained. Who told him to always use some strange ninjutsu? Even Sensei has scolded him several times. He really deserves to be beaten. Hinata said with deep thought. Hanabi, sister will teach you another ninjutsu. This move is called Soft Fist Technique, Kidney Strike. In the future, if you don't like Shinobu Maru, use this move to teach him a lesson. Hanabi looked at Hinata with confused eyes and asked curiously, Sister, is this move very powerful? Hinata said, Hanabi, when you use this move to defeat Shinobu Maru, I guarantee that even your sensei will be afraid of you. Really? Hanabi said excitedly, Sister, teach me quickly. Chapter 312. Touching Huahua's soft lower abdomen, Hinata smirked and said, This move is actually very simple. It's to use Gentle Fist to attack this part of the internal organs. Many people are afraid of this move. Speaking of this, Hinata said with some bad intentions, Huahua, when you practice with father in the future, you can try this move. Whether this move is powerful or not, you'll know when you see father's reaction. No one knew what she was thinking, but Hinata's face showed a funny smile. Oh, Huahua nodded with a serious face. She almost took out a small notebook to write down this move. There's also this part. Hinata continued to teach Huahua his fighting experience accumulated over the years. This part of the internal organs is called the bladder. If you use Gentle Fist to attack this part, cough cough cough. In the end, Hinata himself couldn't continue. He always felt that the person who invented Gentle Fist was really dirty. Huahua secretly remembered every word Hinata said, but with some doubts she asked, "Sister, didn't you say that the heart is the vital part of the human body? Why do we use Gentle Fist to attack these two parts of the internal organs?" "Naive," Hinata said seriously. "Most ninjas are not afraid of death. Killing the opponent will not make the opponent feel fear. But if we use Gentle Fist to attack these two parts, more than 80% of the male ninjas will kneel down and beg for mercy." After a pause, Hinata asked with a proud face, "Huahua, have you heard of Kakashi and Asuma?" Yes, Huahua said with some admiration. "They are Shinobu's very powerful jonins." Hinata said with a face full of disdain. "Although they are powerful, do you know how they reacted after being hit by this move of mine?" "Well," Huahua thought for a while and shook her head in confusion. Hinata snorted and sneered. "Ever since they were hit by my kidney strike, they don't want to fight with me again in this life. Don't you think it's amazing?" Huahua looked at Hinata with admiration. Her little face was red with excitement. "Big sister is so awesome." "Aha!" Hinata put his hands on Hanabi's shoulders and said earnestly, "Hanabi, when you learn these two techniques, you can also become a powerful ninja like your sister." Huahua's eyes lit up, and she nodded repeatedly. "I know. Although the heart is a vital part of the human body, attacking it won't make the opponent yield. But if you attack the kidneys and bladder, the opponent will feel fear." "Sister, is that right?" "That's right," Hinata said with an expression of "you're right." "In order to prove that I'm right, Huahua, go and spar with father right now." Huahua's little face was serious as she said, "Okay, I'll go now." After that, Huahua strode off with her short legs to look for Hyogo. The true power of the Gentle Fist is about to be revealed. Hinata followed behind Huahua and walked leisurely to the practice room. After a while he saw Huahua pulling Hyogo's hand and rushing to the practice room. She was shouting loudly, "Father, big sister just taught me 2 ninjutsu. Let's try it out." Hyogo had a headache. Why did his 2 daughters always like to use him to test new ninjutsu? It was obviously Hinata who taught you ninjutsu. Why don't you 2 practice it by yourselves? Is it because my status as father has declined? Fortunately, Huahua wasn't as dangerous as Hinata. Hyogo didn't have to risk his life to spar with Huahua, and he didn't have to worry that Huahua would accidentally bear the crime of murdering her biological father. The 2 entered the practice room and got into the starting position of the Gentle Fist. Hinata also opened his Byakugan, ready to appear and rescue them if there was any danger. "I'm going," Huahua said seriously. She jumped up and hit Hyogo's heart with her palm. Hyogo casually blocked Huahua's arm and waited for her to continue her attack. However, the attack of Huahua's second palm suddenly changed. Her small hand went straight for Hyogo's stomach. The corner of Hyogo's eyes twitched. Even though he knew that he could block Huahua's attack, a layer of cold sweat still oozed out of his back. Clap, clap, clap. After a few consecutive moves, Hyogo shook Huahua and took a few steps back. His face was pale. "Huahua, did Hinata teach you these moves?" Huahua didn't pay attention to Hyogo. She lowered her head and looked at her hands in shock. Her face was full of disbelief. "These moves are so powerful that even father doesn't dare to fight with me. Big sister really didn't lie to me. No wonder even Kakashi-senpai and Asuma-senpai don't dare to fight with big sister. Hyogo." In fact, from a ninja's point of view, kidney strike was just a kind of ninjutsu. In order to kill the opponent, a ninja would use even more despicable means. But for some reason, Hyuga Hayashi always felt that kidney strike and bladder strike were too embarrassing for the Hyuga clan. Hyogo said with a cold face, "Huahua, don't use this move on outsiders in the future." Huahua was unconvinced. "Why? These 2 moves don't attack vital parts. Even if I'm fighting with my village companions, I won't kill them because I can't control my strength." Hyogo's face changed several times. After a long while, he squeezed out a sentence. "A powerful move like this can only be used when facing an enemy. Don't use it on your village companions in the future." "Oh," Huahua nodded and said in confusion, "Father, I understand. Such a powerful move must be the legendary forbidden technique." right? Hyogo. Hinata watched the whole process of Hua and Hyogo's fight and nodded with satisfaction. It was time to seize power. He had to suppress Hyogo's prestige. In the struggle for power, Hinata and Hua had to work together as sisters to bully Hyogo. Otherwise, they would be defeated one by his identity as father. Hinata had already thought about it. When he took power, the first thing he would do was to give Hinata Takuma a suicide mission, and then transfer Hua's bodyguard, Hyugasya, to his side. In the practice room, Hyogo's face was livid. He said in a deep voice, "Hua, go back and practice on your own." Hua responded loudly, "Yes." After Hua left, Hyogo wanted to call Hinata over and scold him. Hinata actually taught such a dangerous move to Hua. It was simply teaching a child the wrong way. However, when Hyogo calmed down and carefully analyzed it, he suddenly felt a little lucky. He was glad that Hinata didn't use such a move on him, so Hinata's unpregnant brother didn't die in the cradle. When he thought about it, Hyogo's face returned to calmness. And forget it. Chapter 313. With nothing to do, Hinata returned to his room, thinking about the possibility of making his strength go further. When one's strength reaches Hinata's level, imagination is always more useful than hard work. According to the Shoshin novels in his previous life, Hinata's realm is called the end of the road. Regardless of the cultivation method of the Otsutsuki clan, just from the power rules of the ninja world, Hinata is now standing at the peak of ninja. No one has walked the road behind him, and Hinata needs to cut through the thorns by himself. In fact, no matter what kind of cultivation method it is, the meaning of cultivation itself is to make the level of life evolve. And the evolution of life is plunder. A newborn baby grows to adulthood, and this process requires eating several meals of heavy food. We must draw nutrients from food in order to let the body grow. The growth of the body has potential, and when the growth potential is exhausted, we will usher in aging. So eating alone can't plunder enough nutrients to make life evolve. The strength of a ninja is from eating, so there is a limit to a ninja. Even Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, who stand at the peak of the ninja world, can't escape this fate. So what we have to do is not to compete who eats more, but to compete whose food is more advanced. Eating a lot can only make you fat, but eating chakra fruit can make life evolve. Chakra is composed of spiritual energy and physical energy. Spiritual energy is not to say, physical energy is actually physical energy. As long as the level of the body increases, chakra's quality and quantity will be improved. However, there is no chakra fruit in the current ninja world for Hinata to eat. What exactly do I eat? Toads and snakes? Hinata's imagination is running wild. In the Shoshin novels, there are examples of eating spirit beast meat to improve cultivation, and Hinata has always been convinced. Take the toads of Mount Myaboku for example. Ordinary toads of course can't, but if humans eat the toads that have cultivated the sage technique, can they improve their physique? The snakes in the Longdi cave can also be eaten. In the past, Hinata was just joking, but now Hinata truly believed that if he ate the flesh of these creatures, his strength would increase. If there's a chance, we can start with the Dragon Ground Cave. The snake dowager had been clamoring for Orochimaru to prepare a human sacrifice for him every day. Eating her wouldn't be a big deal, right? This was how it was between different species. It was either I eat you, or you eat me. Hinata had the idea of using snake gall to make wine. When he joined forces with Jiraiya to fight against Orochimaru, he even said that he wanted to eat snake soup. However, at that time, Hinata was just trying his luck. Just the thought of soaking Orochimaru's body in wine was disgusting. But now eating snakes had become the key to increasing his strength and evolving his life form. The great toad sage, the white snake sage, and the slug sage who have lived for thousands of years are all rich in nutrients. Under the nourishment of natural energy, they are actually similar to the sacred tree. Perhaps the only difference between the former and the latter is that the former's vitality is used to maintain its own survival, while the latter's vitality is stored. Sure enough, eating is the key to human evolution. In addition to the animals of the three holy lands, Hinata can also think of something that can be eaten, which is the elixir. In the cultivation novels, there are countless examples of eating elixirs that can greatly improve one's cultivation. However, compared to the Feast of the Three Holy Lands, elixirs are more difficult to make. Even an excellent medical ninja like Tsunade couldn't use herbs to refine elixirs that can improve one's strength. The first time the concept of elixir appeared in the ninja world was when Otsutsuki Momoshiki used chakra to refine elixirs. Yes, Hinata suddenly remembered that the Tensigen also has the ability to absorb chakra. The Tensigen can remotely extract other people's chakra. Once a non-Hamura descendant comes into contact with the Tensigen, their chakra will be forcibly extracted. The Tensigen can directly swallow other people's ninjutsu and counterattack. Chakra contains spiritual energy and physical energy, and this energy is essentially biological energy. In the original manga, when Naruto practiced the Nine Tails mode, when the ghost mackerel first came out of the mackerel muscle, his body was thin and dry, as if he had no strength at all. But when he absorbed chakra, his body quickly returned to its original state. Hinata has also tried to absorb chakra from the mackerel muscle. This chakra can indeed be converted into spiritual energy and physical energy to restore the body. Tsunade's Inseal's secret technique is to store chakra made over the years, and this chakra can even maintain the body's youth. However, the examples of Tsunade and Ghost Mackerel are only recovery, not the evolution that Hinata wants. But all of this can't stop Hinata's imagination from running wild. If he uses the biological energy called chakra, plus natural energy, and supplemented with some herbs, can he refine elixirs that can improve his strength? The effect of one elixir is not obvious enough, but what about 100 or 10,000? The soldier food pill is a kind of pill that can instantly enhance chakra and restore chakra. Out of curiosity, Hinata took out a soldier food pill and ate it. Then he activated his supercilious eyes to observe the effects of the soldier food pill on the body during digestion. The soldier food pill is a type of pill that is easily absorbed by the human body. It compresses the nutrients into a small pill, allowing the human body to quickly absorb and restore the body's strength through consumption, thus creating an even larger amount of chakra. Hinata suddenly scratched his head awkwardly. Recovery elixirs and elixirs that increase strength, what is the difference between the two? How hateful. Why can't those authors who write immortal cultivation novels just say it out loud? The soldier food pill is not a type of pill that can permanently increase the amount of chakra, because the nutrients will be digested, and the excess chakra will be wasted. It has no effect on the body. Hinata glanced around a few times. On the windowsill, a delicate potted plant was extremely dazzling at this moment. Thanks to her mother, Minako, in order to make Hinata better maintain the posture of a young lady, she instilled a lot of flower arrangement knowledge in Hinata, and also sent a lot of potted plants to Hinata. However, Hinata has always been too lazy to take care of these flowers and plants. Hinata took the potted plant to the desk and condensed natural energy by entering sage mode, and then compressed the natural energy near the potted plant. Byakugan. The sacred tree is a medium that transforms natural energy into vitality. Can ordinary plants also become different under the nourishment of natural energy? Hinata suddenly felt that she was stupid. Even the plants in Mount Myaboku have not mutated, let alone an ordinary potted plant. There seems to be no other example of creatures that have lived for more than 1,000 years in the ninja world, except for the three holy lands, Bijou and Kagaya. Oh, maybe there are also trees that have lived for more than 1,000 years. Hinata scratched his head. What exactly is missing? Chapter 314. Hinata rested his chin on his hands as he thought hard. Natural energy is everywhere in the ninja world, but there are very few ninjas who are truly qualified to practice senjutsu. Although the natural energy in the outside world is thin, it is not non-existent. Although the natural energy in the three holy lands is huge, the plants there have not mutated. But living in a place with too much natural energy will affect the human body. The existence of Yugo is proof that his village is affected by natural energy. When Yugo transforms, he will lose his mind. The influence of natural energy on Yugo has already penetrated deep into his genes. Well, Hinata suddenly thought of a sentence. In his previous life, when he watched detective movies and TV series, the people in them would say, "When there is no progress in the case, you have to return to the evidence itself to see if you have missed any important evidence." Hinata recalled the whole process of practicing Sage Mode, as well as the initial judgment of Sage Mode, including the formation of the Sage Mode and so on. Animals can extend their lifespan by thousands of years through natural energy, so why can't humans do the same? Anyway, Hinata doesn't believe it. The 3 Holy Lands must be hiding something, including Jiraiya and Hashirama's practice of senjutsu. It is only the most basic use of chakra. When Jiraiya guided Hinata to practice Sage Mode, the most words he said were control and balance. Only by controlling the balance of physical energy, spiritual energy, and natural energy in the body can one enter Sage Mode and use chakra. Natural energy is irritable, and it can affect humans to lose their mind. But how could natural energy affect the rationality of human beings? Absorption and transformation. It is like accepting new knowledge and new ideas. We must first accept the new knowledge and ideas, and then it will affect our perception of the world. Yugo's method of using natural energy is different from Sage Mode. Natural energy exists in Yugo's spiritual and physical body, and it is absorbed by his body and transformed into his own energy. However, Yugo's passive absorption method is obviously wrong. Transforming natural energy into vitality, and then absorbing it is the most correct way. So how do I transform it? Hinata felt that he seemed to have thought of the most important thing. Balance. This balance of energy was not the balance of physical energy, spiritual energy, and natural energy, but the balance of life force and natural energy. It sounded like there was no difference, but the essence of the two was different. After the life force and natural energy had reached a balance, the unfavorable elements in the natural energy would be filtered out through a certain medium. Then the life force would absorb the natural energy, thereby increasing the life force. Yugo's example tells us that natural energy can be absorbed by the human mind and body, and the mind and body are the life force that sustains the human body. Hinata suddenly thought of the Jubi. What was the difference between the Jubi's state and Yugo's state? The 10-tailed beast was even less intelligent than the 9-tailed beast. Therefore, the divine tree was not only a medium to convert natural energy into life force, but it was also a medium to filter out the unfavorable elements of natural energy. The true usage of natural energy was to absorb, balance, filter, and then let the life force absorb the filtered natural energy, allowing the life force to grow. It was just like how a child needed to eat to grow up. After consuming the filtered natural energy, life force would also grow. Rice had to be cooked before it could be eaten, and natural energy naturally had to be processed before it could be turned into delicious food. The reason why the 3 Holy Lands were so special, other than the large amount of natural energy that was gathered there, did they have a way to filter out the unfavorable elements of natural energy? The Ryuchi cave seemed to lack a method. Hinata carefully analyzed the situation, and felt that her guess should be reasonable. After figuring out the key, the next step was to figure out how to do it. Hinata could absorb and balance it, because only with a balance of energy could Hinata control natural energy. Then what about filtering? What medium should be used to filter natural energy? Ordinary flowers and plants could not absorb natural energy because they did not have spiritual energy, so they could not maintain a balance. How about I try using the Yin release chakra? Hinata could only use his imagination, and try all kinds of methods. If I treat plants as life forms that only have a body and no soul, then if I use my spiritual energy and the physical energy of the plants, will I be able to maintain a balance with natural energy? Hinata did a small experiment. The plants were very weak. Hinata opened his Byakugan and carefully injected his Yin release energy into the potted plant, and then condensed natural energy to gather. After waiting for a long time, there was no change in the potted plant. When Hinata used chakra now, the natural energy would merge with Hinata's chakra and become the immortal technique chakra. Hinata could no longer use the ordinary chakra. Hinata simply gave up the natural energy in the natural world and tried it with his chakra. The result was the same. In the end, it was not the energy of the potted plant itself. It could not absorb it. However, although the experiment failed, Hinata's thoughts suddenly became clear. My idea is feasible. Hinata was very sure of this, because the sacred tree was such an existence. Absorbing the sacred tree can open the Rinnegan that controls the power of yin and yang, because the sacred tree itself has both the power of yin and yang. Perhaps the sacred tree was created by using the yin and yang release. Hinata can't cultivate the sacred tree, but she can use her pharmacological knowledge to fuse chakra, natural energy, and herbs together and refine it into something similar to the soldier food pill. But it doesn't increase one's chakra for a short period of time, but it permanently increases one's chakra. In this way, the natural energy would be absorbed by the human body like nutrients. Sure enough, the accumulation of knowledge is still not enough. Hinata could feel his lack of knowledge more and more. It was okay to let Hinata use his imagination, but when it came to the real experiment, Hinata was completely in the dark. Not to mention doing the experiment, Hinata did not even know how to do the experiment. In fact, Hinata had another way, which was to use himself as an experiment. Just like Hinata's initial idea, to gather the power of the nine-tailed beasts and use himself as the sacred tree, using natural energy to cultivate himself. This idea was not impossible, because this was what the three Holy Lands did. It was just that the big toad sage, the white snake sage, and the slug sage had used their life force to maintain their survival. 1,000 years had consumed too much of their life force, and now they could not make ends meet, so they could not evolve into an immortal existence like Kaguya. But Hinata was missing the most important two steps: filtering and letting the life force devour the natural energy. Devouring the natural energy might be a passive way like Yugo, but filtering was the real key. Hinata did not want to lose his mind. Chapter 315. Speaking of filtration, Hinata suddenly thought of a lot of examples of filtration in his mind. Hinata's drinking water in his previous life needed to be filtered. Tap water can't be drunk directly. The drinking water we drink is either purified water filtered by a filter or boiled water. If the ninja's method can't solve the problem of filtering natural energy, then can the scientific method solve it? Claiming to be a great scientist, Hinata removed the lens of her sunglasses and only wore a frame on her face to make herself look more like a scholar. Cough. Hinata doesn't have a sacred tree, so Hinata can't solve the problem of the filter for the time being. In that case, could natural energy be like water? After boiling, it would turn into drinkable water? Hinata scratched his head. It doesn't seem impossible. But the problem is how to burn it? How to burn it? Hinata can't burn it with Katan, right? Natural energy is invisible to the naked eye. Hinata doesn't even know what can heat natural energy and turn it into pure natural energy that can be directly absorbed. My imagination is not enough. Well, in order to develop light bulbs, Edison worked in the laboratory for more than 10 hours a day, experimenting with thousands of materials. Hinata drank a bowl of chicken soup to encourage himself. As long as he keeps experimenting, he will always find the most suitable way. After all, experiments are not something that can be done overnight. Hinata can only accumulate enough knowledge first, and then keep trying, and find the only success in countless failures. It is said that failure is the mother of success, but I don't need a mother's love now, I just want a child. Recording his imagination in a small book, Hinata took out a book on herbology and read it. Without the work of Naruto's secretary, Hinata's efficiency of receiving information is also a lot slower. It wasn't until the third day of the meeting with Black Zetsu that Hinata heard someone in the village talking about the grievances between the fourth Raikage and Orochimaru. After all, his biological father was played by Orochimaru. Not only his body, but even his soul was controlled by Orochimaru. And he did things against the will of the three generations Raikage. It's related to the dignity of the village, and the fourth Raikage's hot temper was able to endure for so many days. But that was the result of the efforts of the Cloud Village's leaders. Although the fact that the fourth Raikage personally led a team to hunt down Orochimaru had little to do with Konoha, Orochimaru was still a traitor of Konoha. The Cloud and the Rock both accused Konoha's second Hokage of developing the inhumane Edo Tensei, and demanded that Konoha hand over the method to break the Edo Tensei and destroy the Jutsu. Even the Sand Village and the Mist Villages came to join in the village, but their words were relatively more peaceful. Although Konoha only received accountability documents from the villages, and not the major ninja villages actually sent ninja troops to attack them, the village's top leaders were still under a lot of pressure. The existence of Hinata has caused a lot of pressure on the major villages, and the existence of the Edo Tensei can make up for Shinobu's lack of high-end combat power. Once Shinobu starts to study the Edo Tensei, the ninja world will really become a one-village situation. In the ninja world, there are no ninjas like Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. The bijou is the ultimate weapon of a ninja village. But where did the bijou come from? That's what Senju Hashirama gave to them after he caught them. When the bijou lost their deterrence, and Shinobu made up for the lack of high-end combat power, even if the other 4 villages joined together, would they still be qualified to fight against Shinobu? No. The problem that the 4 villages want to solve is not the problem of whether the Edo Tensei is human or not. The core problem in front of them now is how to solve the crisis brought by the increasingly powerful Shinobu. The Edo Tensei has become the fuse of the 4th Shinobi World War, and this is not a trivial matter. Once this problem can't be solved, Shinobu will face the siege of the 4 major villages, and even the smaller villages will take the opportunity to join in. That will be the siege of the entire ninja world. However, when the entire Shinobu is facing the crisis of war, and everyone can feel that the storm is coming, there is one person in Shinobu who is extremely excited. This person is called Shimura Danzo. Danzo has been very active recently. He visited the Hyuga family twice in 3 days and talked with Hyogo for a long time. When Danzo realized that Hinata and the Edo Tensei together, Shinobu has the power to rule the ninja world, his long-awaited dream almost found a way to realize. Let Shinobu rule the ninja world. When this is impossible, even if Danzo clamors to rule the ninja world all day long, not many people will pay attention to him. But what happened when this hope appeared? How to solve the problem of the Edo Tensei has become a problem that all the higher-ups of Shinobu must face. Not like before, it's just a permanent seal. The Jonin meeting hasn't been held yet, but it's estimated that it won't be far away. Because of the existence of Hinata, the Hyuga family has been pushed to the forefront. Because Hinata's choice will determine the fate of Shinobu. In the empty meeting room, the real power figures of the Hyuga family once again gathered together. Hyuga family and Uchiha family are different. The high-level meeting of the Uchiha family requires the participation of all the jonins of the family, but the high-level meeting of the Hyuga family is actually a meeting of the main family. The branch family only needs to send a representative to express their opinion. There are not many people in the meeting room, except for the 2 brothers Hyogo and Hizashi. There are only 7 elders and some jonins of the main family. The Hyuga main family doesn't only have the patriarch, but each main family has only one person in power and one heir. Everyone's eyes were focused on Hinata. This 13-year-old girl has not only become the fuse of the war, but also the existence that determines the fate of the ninja world. Many people in Shinobu believe that if Hashirama and Uchiha Madara joined forces, Shinobu would have the ability to rule the ninja world. Shimura Danzo is a firm supporter of this view. And today's Shinobu isn't any worse than back then. Once the Edo Tensei is perfected by Shinobu, no one knows how many dead people Shinobu can summon. Everyone, Hyuga Hayashi looked around and said in a deep voice, "Let's talk about our opinions." As the father of the strongest person in the ninja world, Hinata, Hyogo's prestige in the clan and the village is increasing day by day. Even Shimura Danzo is very polite to Hyogo. "Oniai-san." Hyogo turned to look at Hyogo. The opinion of the branch family is that the Hyuga family will not express our opinion. If they don't express their opinion, it means that they are completely following the village's decision. After a pause, Hizashi explained. The ninja world can't bear to see Shinobu dominate the village. When the threat of Shinobu rose to a certain level, the 4 great ninja villages joined together. If Shinobu unifies the ninja world, will the Hyuga family face the situation of today's Shinobu? Chapter 316. Looking around, Hizashi said solemnly, "Human jealousy is a very terrible emotion, so we can only accept the politics of balance. Once this balance is broken one day, we will be faced with a group attack. The predicament Shinobu is now facing is enough to be a warning to the Hyuga family. If a family is strong, it will be resisted and rejected by everyone. The examples of Senju and Uchiha are still vivid in their minds. In order for the family to survive and develop for a long time, the Hyuga family needs a balanced environment. The reason why Shinobu is so strong and the pressure from foreign enemies has made the existence of the Hyuga family recognized by everyone. But once this foreign enemy no longer exists, will the Hyuga family still be needed by everyone? An elder snorted softly. Balance is a relative influence. Even if there is a balance, everyone will elect a leader. As long as the Hyuga family can continue to be strong, why can't we become the leader of the new pattern? If we keep shrinking back, will the family prosper? Everyone was noisy and arguing, and Hinata felt a headache coming on. In any case, everyone was right. Everyone was right. And Hyogo, as the patriarch, has to make the final decision between these two choices. Stable development? Or seize the opportunity to fight? History tells us that only those who seize the opportunity and dare to fight can succeed. If Hashirama shrank back in the beginning, the ninja world would still be in the warring states period. But Hashirama's success was built on a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Perhaps because of the strength of Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, the establishment of Shinobu didn't experience too much bloodshed. But other ninja villages are not like this. It was a village that had been built through war and conquest, killing all opponents one by one. Behind a winner are countless losers. But they also seized the opportunity. Hyogo turned to look at Hinata and asked indifferently, Hinata, what do you think? Everyone's eyes focused on Hinata again. If Hinata supports one side, then no matter how reasonable the other side is, it will be useless. Well, Hinata scratched his head and said with some embarrassment, I'm not very interested. Everyone. Hyogo can understand Hinata after all. Hinata's dream is more ambitious than ruling the ninja world. However, for Hyogo, Hinata's dream is an unknown that he doesn't dare to touch. He doesn't dare to gamble the future of the family with Hinata. However, unifying the shinobi world and becoming the leader of the new structure is a goal that Hyuga Hayashi can reach. It's not the universe full of unknown stars, but the real ninja world that can be seen. After pondering for a long time, Hyogo slowly said, This matter. Before the crisis of Akatsuki is solved, I will not express my opinion to the village. All the Hyuga clansmen also can't discuss this matter in public. When the crisis of Akatsuki is solved, I will give you an answer on this matter. An elder said with dissatisfaction. The power of Akatsuki is not enough to pose a threat to the ninja world. Hinata has the power to compete with Rinnegan. Hyogo said lightly, Don't let ignorance blind your eyes. Akatsuki is not as simple as you think. And this kind of decision is related to the future of the family. We can't make a choice because of impulse. After a pause, Hyogo said slowly, Then today's meeting will end here. Everyone walked out of the conference room with complicated faces. Hyogo looked at Hinata and shouted, Hinata, you stay. Hyogo's idea is very simple. If he didn't know Hinata's dream in advance, then he might have agreed with Hinata's opinion today. But if Hinata can lead the Hyuga clan into the universe, then the Hyuga clan that stays in the ninja world doesn't have to care too much about the opinions of others. The crisis that Shinobu is facing today can indeed be a warning to the Hyuga family. But wasn't the example of Hinata herself a sign of this? As long as you are strong enough, no one can ignore your opinion. And when your strength is strong enough, no one will dare to oppose you. Hyuga Hayashi can suppress all the voices of opposition within the Hyuga clan by relying on his connections. The nature of the world is that the strong are respected, and the weak must obey the rules set by the strong. If the Hyuga family is divided into two development models in the future, the universe and the ninja world, then the branch that stays in the ninja world can become Hinata's support. And the Hyuga clan led by Hinata can also become the background of the branch that stays in the ninja world, forming a deterrent to the ninja world. However, all of this must be decided after the crisis of the organizations is solved. In Hinata's plan, the organizations are the main force. Father, is there anything else? Hinata was extremely well behaved, and her small face was full of ignorant expressions. Since the last time she bewitched Hanabi to attack Hyogo's lower body, Hinata always felt a little guilty every time she saw Hyogo. Hyogo asked in a deep voice, "Hinata, if your plan fails, then what will you choose?" Hinata bowed his head and pondered. If he can't green the universe, then what should he do? Rule the ninja world? Perhaps because it's too easy, Hinata has never been interested in this matter. If the plan fails, I may find a quiet place to retire. Hyogo. I knew that I shouldn't have the slightest hope for Hinata. Forget it. Hyogo sighed and said helplessly, "It's getting late, go back and rest. If someone asks you about your opinion on this matter, you just have to answer according to your heart." Hinata nodded and said, "Yeah. Father, then I'll take my leave." Returning to his room, Hinata was also tired. "I didn't do much, did I? Why is a ninja world war breaking out? The organizations must be happy now, right?" A few days ago, the ninja world was still discussing the threat of the organizations, but now everyone's attention has shifted to Shinobu. This is really not a conspiracy made by the organizations, but the 5 great ninja villages of the ninja world are used to being arrogant, and they are used to only treating each other as opponents. However, this chaos in the ninja world is more beneficial for Hinata and Black Zetsu's plan. At least the organizations can safely pass through this dormant period. Forget it. What's the point of thinking so much? Hinata quickly let go of this matter. Anyway, the 5 great ninja villages want to develop themselves, and at the same time, they can't see others doing well. If the 5 great ninja villages really fight, then Hinata can only say one thing to them. Serves them right. Slowing down his dizziness, Hinata sat at the desk and continued to read. Chapter 317. People are always used to looking at things in front of them. However, everyone's vision is different, and not everyone can look at the distant sea of stars like Hinata. In the meeting room of the Naruto building, Tsunade, Shimura Danzo, Xuan Xiaochun, and Mito Monitis were still discussing Shinobu's next course of action. If a war breaks out in the shinobi world, the peace we have been trying to maintain will be completely disintegrated. Do you know how many people will die in the war? Tsunade was extremely angry. He glared at Danzo and shouted, "How many of our companions, how many relatives have died in the war? As long as we make a little concession, we can solve this crisis." Danzo narrowed his left eye slightly and said in a calm tone, "Peace is not won by compromise. In fact, I have experienced more wars than you, and I understand what war is all about. It is precisely because there is no absolute power to rule the world that wars break out frequently. The current casualties are only temporary, but if we don't do something, our descendants will still face frequent wars. Do you want to leave the problems we can't solve to our descendants?" Glancing at Tsunade, Danzo said in a deep voice, "Tsunade, you are hindering the progress of the world. If your grandfather, the first daimyo, was like you, and didn't build a village because of the fear of casualties, what would the world be like?" Tsunade argued. "It is impossible for a dictatorship to have peace. It is precisely because there are many villages in the shinobi world that we can accept the opinions of others, absorb the ideas of others, and make ourselves progress. If the shinobi world only has one village, Shinobu, we will soon lose ourselves in blind arrogance and become a dictator. It is precisely because of this consideration that my grandfather didn't continue the war." Danzo coldly snorted. "But it is also because of the first daimyo's stagnation that 3 wars broke out in the shinobi world, which is more tragic than the past. The current casualties are to reduce the casualties of our descendants." Tsunade shouted angrily, "No! Once we become dictators, there will be people who will step forward to overthrow us. That will be an even more tragic war. What's more, Shinobu may not have the power to rule the Shinobu world." Danzo said solemnly, "As long as we perfect the Edo Tensei and use Hinata's power to take back all the tailed beasts, we can unify the shinobi world and establish an unprecedented system." Xuan Xiaochun and Mito Monitis looked at Tsunade and Danzo. In the face of such a major event, it was difficult for them to make a decision all of a sudden. Hyogo would feel confused and afraid when facing the unknown universe. Tsunade faced an unknown future, and also had his own worries. And all of their worries were actually due to their lack of strength. They didn't stand high enough, and the world they saw was very small. What Tsunade was really worried about was that he was unable to maintain a unified situation with his own ability. If Tsunade had the power of Otsutsuki Kagaya, she would have unified the shinobi world long ago, because she has absolute confidence in her own strength. Danzo said lightly, "We won't reach a conclusion even if we continue to argue. Let's hold a meeting and let the jonins in the village vote." Tsunade was silent for a moment and nodded. Okay. It wasn't just Shinobu. All the ninja villages in the shinobi world were discussing this topic. Originally, everyone was shocked by the Rinnegan and the Edo Tensei and regarded the organizations as a huge threat. But when everyone came back to their senses, they suddenly discovered that Hinata has the power to fight against the Rinnegan. And the Edo Tensei is a ninjutsu created by Nidame Naruto. The organizations with the Rinnegan and the Edo Tensei are already a huge threat. So what kind of threat is Shinobu, who has the power to fight against the Rinnegan and the Edo Tensei? So everyone turned their spearhead again, and pointed everything at Shinobu. This is a problem that the entire ninja world has to face. It is also a problem that must be solved as soon as possible. If Shinobu is given more time, Shinobu will become stronger, so strong that the other 4 ninja villages will lose the qualification to resist. While they still have the ability to challenge Shinobu, the 4 ninja villages must unite as soon as possible. Shinobu's threat is reflected in 2 points. Hinata and the Edo Tensei. Hinata, as the power to fight against the Rinnegan, can be temporarily put aside because he is needed. But the matter of the Edo Tensei must be solved. Orochimaru won't pass the Edo Tensei to others, and according to the information of the previous battle, Orochimaru's limit is to summon 3 dead people. But Shinobu is a ninja village. If Shinobu selects a group of trustworthy ninjas, and lets them learn the Edo Tensei, it will be an army of Edo Tensei. Every single person in this army was once a powerhouse. Orochimaru has perfected the Edo Tensei, and Shinobu has also seen the power of the Edo Tensei. This technique can exert all the strength of the dead when they were alive. Even because of the characteristics of the Edo Tensei and chakra, the dead people born from the Edo Tensei are stronger than when they were alive. This is what really scares the ninja world. Yondaime Reikage is already on his way back to the Cloud Village. Chio and Ebizo of the Sand Village have also come out to preside over the overall situation of the Sand Village. The Mist and Rock villages are also looking at each other. The 4 great ninja villages of the shinobi world only need 1 leader to officially form an alliance. There is not much time left for Shinobu, and there is not much time left for the ninja world. Naruto Building. Leaving the meeting room, Tsunade went to the rooftop upset, and looked at the night view of Shinobu with mixed feelings. The position of Naruto has never been a glory, but a responsibility. As Naruto, he has to bear the responsibility of the entire village. Shimura Danzo kept saying that he wants to start a war, and he even wants to take back the bijou with Hinata's power before the 4 great ninja villages join forces. But if he really wants to make this decision, Tsunade must bear the consequences of Shinobu's defeat. What's more, even if Shinobu completes the unification, can the ninja world really be peaceful? Shinobu's establishment has indeed brought peace to the land of fire. The system of 1 village in 1 country can ensure the stability of the country during peacetime. But if there is only 1 village left in the ninja world, then what will happen to the ninjas who rely on missions to make a living? Seize the country's political power? This is a way out. But when the political power and military power are concentrated in 1 person at the same time, Tsunade is most worried about dictatorship. Shinobu is indeed in a Zen system now, but in the name of master and disciple, Naruto's position. But this kind of Zen system can turn into a Zen system at any time. Even the 3 generations of Naruto Sarutobi considered letting Asuma succeed Naruto's position. And he even paved the way for Asuma. And in Tsunade's view, this is the most terrible thing. Chapter 318. Hinata, female, 13 years old, heir of the Hyuga main clan in Shinobu Hidden Village, Jonin level, good at gentle fist, character. Record, in the past few months, The information of Hinata that has been placed on the desk of the major ninja villages Kage must be Hinata's information. After graduating from the Ninja Academy, Hinata was extremely famous in the ninja world. The first time she left the village to perform a mission, she killed Zabuza, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. In the past, everyone thought that the person who killed Zabuza was Kakashi, and Hinata just helped from the side or stole Kakashi's head. But now, who is Hinata's mentor? In Shinobu's plan to collapse, Hinata captured my love of the Sand-Hidden Village, causing the Sand-Hidden Village to suffer a crushing defeat. In just 1 year, the major ninja villages didn't care at first, but now they have no choice but to pay attention to her. Hinata's growth is too fast. That's why sometimes we say that it's important to strike first to gain the upper hand. Before the enemy becomes a threat, we should kill them first to ensure that we don't have to worry about the consequences. In the past, Hinata was just a little girl, and the major ninja villages had every reason to underestimate Hinata. But Shinobu was one of the 5 major ninja villages from beginning to end. When such a ninja village poses a threat to all the other ninja villages in the ninja world, taking the initiative is the only choice. Hinata didn't take this matter seriously before, because Hinata always felt that the ninja world won't be able to fight, and the village's leaders were worried about nothing. But it turned out that Hinata was completely wrong. 3 days after the high-level meeting of the Hyuga clan, the cloud and the rock were already showing signs of forming an alliance. The sand was wavering, and the mist was silent. And all of this indicates that Shinobu has become the target of public criticism. Are they really going to fight? In the barbecue shop, Hinata was depressed. Even the delicious barbecue was tasteless, and he could only swallow his worries. Speaking of which, Hinata has been in this world for 13 years. Hinata originally thought that even if the butterfly effect really exists, the ninja world should develop in a better direction. Why did he become the fuse of the war? It's really troublesome. Shikamaru held his face as if he had nothing to live for. Shikamaru's IQ was very high, but he had a temperament of taking one step at a time. His favorite thing to do every day was to lie on the roof and bask in the sun, observing the changes in the shape of the clouds. Although he worked a little bit harder after the Chunin exam, he didn't work. Yes. It's so troublesome. Hinata's face, was, Hey, can't you two be a little bit more ambitious? Ino said with dissatisfaction. Even you Jonin and Chunin are like this, then what should I do as a genin? Hinata Shikamaru, of course. The reason why Hinata, Shikamaru, and Ino were together was because Choji was seriously injured during a mission. When Hinata went to visit Choji, he happened to meet them. Asuma and his squad encountered the Cloud Ninjas when they were on a mission in the land of hot water. The two sides didn't agree and started a fight. Even Asuma was injured to a certain extent. Shikamaru said helplessly, Now it depends on which side the sand and the mist will stand on. Although the sand is our ally, allies can't be trusted at all. The mist has always been mysterious, and it's only recently that they started to contact us. It's hard to guess their true intentions. Hinata murmured. The mist? Shikamaru asked curiously. Hinata, what do you think? Hinata said weakly. The mist probably wants to deal with the Akatsuki first. So far, among the 5 great shinobi villages, only Konoha and the mist have been harmed by the Akatsuki, so the mist will most likely stand on Konoha's side. The 4th Mizukage of the mist was controlled by the bordered soil, and the 4th Naruto of the shinobu also died in the Nine Tails incident. Jiraiya and Naruto often talk about people understand each other, and in fact it's quite reasonable. If other villages understand shinobu, they will know that shinobu won't allow ninjas to learn the Edo Tensei, and he won't attack other villages casually. It's precisely because they don't understand that there was a misunderstanding, which led to the war. However, people understand each other is a bit too dreamy after all. If the world of infinite Tsukuyomi is a dream, then Naruto used his own experience to brainwash all ninjas through chakra. Isn't the world he created not a dream? Isn't that infinite Kodoame Tsukumi? Shikamaru curled his lips and suddenly felt relieved. If the mist can stand on our side, then the sand will probably stand on our side too. Ino was a bit puzzled. Why would the mist stand on our side? What are you talking about? Hinata and Shikamaru looked at each other helplessly. After all, Ino is the pig of Inoshikicho. Ah, Shikamaru stretched and said weakly. Although the war might not break out, at this time, the only thing we can do is to work hard and cultivate. Ino said. What's the use of working hard at this time? Hinata was secretly ashamed. He and Shikamaru are probably the same type. The Jonin meeting was still held. Facing the increasingly tense situation of the ninja world, when the opinions of the higher-ups are in conflict, the vote of the Jonin meeting will determine the future of the village. War or peace? As the two sides with conflicting opinions, Tsunade and Danzo each gave a touching speech. Hinata sat down and listened carefully. In all fairness, although Hinata hates Danzo, Hinata has to say that Danzo's opinion seems to be more reliable. The war unifies the ninja world. The blood sacrifice at this moment is to prevent future generations from living in the chaos of war. Tsunade's argument is nothing more than that he can't bear to see the blood sacrifice. He can't bear to see shinobu separated from their relatives and companions, and at the same time, he expressed doubts about the future described by Danzo. Of course, Hinata supports Tsunade. This argument has nothing to do with both sides. It's just that supporting Tsunade is more in line with the interests of the Hyuga family. If it's just for Hinata's own plan, the 5 great ninja villages will fight to the death. The more miserable the 5 great ninja villages fight, the smoother Hinata and Black Zetsu's plan will be. But the Hyuga family will continue to live in Shinobu. Zhuan Xiaochun looked around and said in a deep voice. The situation in the ninja world is tense, and the village has reached the point where it must make a decision. Before the official vote, you can also say your own thoughts. Mito Monitis took off his glasses and said lightly, your opinions will affect the final decision of the village. I hope you can be careful. Chapter 319. Then I'll just say it briefly. As Shinobu's leader, Naruto's senior staff officer, Shisa Nara, with an IQ of more than 200, famous for his strategy and decision-making, he was the first to stand up. Before deciding to fight a war, we first have to think about one thing. Is this war really necessary? What is the meaning of this war? What can we get if we win the war? What will we lose if we lose the war? Shisa Nara looked at all the jonins, and although his tone was flat, there was a sense of conviction. The fundamental reason for this war is because Shinobu poses a threat to the Shinobu world. And because Shinobu has become stronger, which made them feel fear. This is not a war that must be fought. We have the ability to prevent the war from happening. And we have the ability to continue the peace. After a pause, Shisa Nara continued. Naruto, Sama and Danzo, Sama have described in detail our gains and losses in the war. And the contradiction between the two sides lies in the foreseeable present and the unpredictable future. This is a gamble for the future of the village. But is there any other way we can choose? Actually, there is. Shinobu has experienced many hardships, and it has been 13 years since the Nine Tails disaster. And Shinobu has once again become the #1 village in the Shinobu world. If the peace can continue, and Shinobu can develop peacefully for another 13 years, then today's gamble may be a foreseeable present in the future. That's all. Tsunade showed a hint of appreciation. This war is really unnecessary, and Shinobu is fully capable of stopping it. Rather than betting everything on uncertainty, it was better to continue to develop in peace. When one's strength became stronger, perhaps everything would go with the flow. The jonins spoke one after another, and most of them supported Tsunade and opposed Danzo. Judging from the past history, if the Shinobu world continues to develop peacefully, it will be the most beneficial for Shinobu. The cradle of geniuses is not just a saying. Hinata. Tsunade turned to Hinata and chuckled. What do you think? As soon as the words fell, the meeting room suddenly became quiet, and everyone's eyes fell on Hinata. Hinata scratched his face a little awkwardly. He pretended to be invisible for a long time, but he didn't expect it to be so eye-catching. Hinata slowly got up. I think Shikaku-san is right. After saying that, Hinata quickly sat back down, and spoke as if he had already expressed his important opinion. Tsunade coughed softly and said in a clear voice, in that case, the next step is to vote. Humph. Before Tsunade's voice fell, Danzo coldly snorted, turned around and walked out of the meeting room. Since the Jonins have already said so much, what's the point of raising their hands to vote? Tsunade, Zhuan Xiaochun and Mito Monitis looked at each other, and Tsunade continued, "Next we will discuss the matter of how to solve the conflict between the 5 major ninja villages by peaceful means. As the party being targeted, Shinobu must first make compromises and concessions if he wants to solve the conflict peacefully. Since the Edo Tensei is the focus of the conflict between the two sides, Shinobu must solve the threat brought by this jutsu and improve his relationship with the other 4 major ninja villages." After the meeting, it was already 10 o'clock at night, and Hinata and Hyogo were walking home. "Hayashi." Danzo walked out of the shadow and stood in front of Hinata and Hyogo, and said in a gloomy tone, "I didn't expect you to make such a choice." Hyogo's expression was calm, and said lightly, "I don't want to follow in the footsteps of Uchiha Fugaku." Danzo ignored Hyogo, and looked at Hinata and said, Hinata, I remember that you and Jiraiya investigated an ancient ruin before. You should be very clear about the threat facing the ninja world. If you want to exert the full power of the ninja, there must be a unified command and dispatch. If the ninja world continues to maintain the status quo, one day it will suffer more painful damage. Hinata looked at Shimura Danzo with a serious face and said seriously, "You are right, I understand the truth." Danzo looked at Hinata with some expectations. Hinata raised his eyebrows and said, "But I just can't do it." Danzo, when a reasonable person meets a completely unreasonable person, the greatest pain is that you can't say anything even if you have a bellyful of reasons. In order to persuade Hinata, Danzo prepared a lot of reasons and hid in the shadow and waited for Hinata for dozens of minutes. For the benefit of the Hyuga family, for the future of Shinobu, for the safety of the ninja world, and so on. In short, you have to listen to me. If you don't listen to me, then you will betray Hyuga, betray Shinobu, betray the ninja world, and become a sinner of all mankind. Danzo's face was livid and his tone was gloomy. Hinata, are you going to abandon the safety of Shinobu and the safety of the ninja world?" Hinata sighed with disappointment, stretched out his index finger, and shook it at Danzo. No. Whether my decision is correct or not, it is not up to you to decide." Danzo's eyes were cold, squinted at Hinata, and turned away with a cold snort. His lonely back was full of loneliness. "It's really troublesome." Hinata looked up at Hyogo and suddenly said with some emotion, "Father-sama, I think that appearance is really important." "Huh?" Hyogo was surprised. "Why do you think so?" Hinata sighed again and said helplessly, "In fact, I think Danzo's words are very reasonable, but because he is ugly, I don't want to agree with his opinion." Hyogo scolded, "Hinata, you can't judge people by their appearance. Being good-looking doesn't mean the level of strength, it doesn't mean the strength of wisdom, it doesn't mean the character is good or evil, and it can't be eaten. If you judge people by their appearance, you will only suffer in the end." Hinata didn't agree with Hyogo's opinion at all, and retorted firmly, "Being good-looking can't be eaten, but if you are not good-looking, you really can't eat. It is said that the appearance is born from the heart, Father-sama. Look at Danzo's appearance." As he said, Hinata stretched out his hand to cover his right eye, and his small face wrinkled into a chrysanthemum, indicating that this is Danzo's appearance. He clearly isn't a good person. Based on appearance, Hinata gave Shimura Danzo the final judgment, ugly face and black heart. After a moment of silence, Hyogo pulled Hinata's hand and said helplessly, "Forget it, let's go home first." Chapter 320. Sure enough, whether it's the previous life or this life, when we graduate, what we miss the most is our school days. When he was in ninja school, Hinata could still muddle along, leisurely, and ignore everything in the world. But when Hinata became a ninja, not only did he have endless things to deal with every day, but he also had to consider his future. After taking a bath, Hinata lay on the bed for 5 minutes before she got up and started reading the medicine book. Hinata suddenly understood Orochimaru's idea. In the past, Hinata thought that he and Shinobu had established a deep bond. When the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki incident caused trouble to Shinobu and his family, Hinata blamed himself for a long time. But now, Hinata doesn't even want to participate in the village's decision-making. At this moment, Hinata's only idea for Shinobu is to wait for the village to make a decision. If there is still a need for him, he will help to deal with it. If there is no need for him, then he will continue to do his own research. If it weren't for the Hyuga family, Hinata would only need a reason to leave Shinobu without any psychological burden. Am I too ruthless? Hinata doesn't feel that he is ruthless, but because of the different ideas and pursuits. Couples who once loved each other will break up because of different ideas, not to mention between a ninja and a village. The two sides who can't integrate into each other's world can only gradually drift apart. But if Hinata forces himself to integrate into Shinobu, Hinata can't do it. When he was a child, Hinata felt that Shinobu was quiet, peaceful, and warm. Staying here would give him a comfortable feeling. The villagers were friendly, the ninjas were harmonious, and everyone was happy. But now Hinata feels that Shinobu's development is somewhat abnormal. Born in sorrow and die in peace. Shinobu doesn't seem to have any ambition. Except for Shimura Danzo, it seems that no one has ever worked hard to unify the ninja world. Hashirama stopped after establishing Shinobu, and even fell out with his good friend Uchiha Madara for this reason. Hinata didn't understand Hashirama's thoughts. Itachi Uchiha once said to the Uchiha clan, "My ability has already given up on this mediocre family." Hinata seemed to be able to understand this sentence now. My ability has already given up on this mediocre village and mediocre world. Uchiha Itachi said that his people were obsessed with the village, but how could Konoha's people not be obsessed with the village? However, it's still too shallow to judge all of this based on right and wrong. Hinata rubbed his face, for the time being, put these messy thoughts aside. Philosophy of life and social philosophy, those are not Hinata's pursuits. Hinata's dream now is the same as Orochimaru's, the immortality of life, and the evolution of life. A few days ago, Hinata analyzed that balance is the way to absorb natural energy. But these days, Hinata looked through several medical books, including some information about ninjutsu, and even did some experiments himself. Before obtaining Sage Mode, Hinata needs to actively absorb natural energy and maintain balance. Only in this way can he use Sage Mode. But when Hinata removes Sage Mode, Senjutsu chakra will become ordinary chakra, and natural energy will also dissipate, instead of turning into spiritual energy and physical energy with chakra. Balance may be the key to using Senjutsu chakra. But now Hinata has a new question. Is it possible that balance is the key to absorbing natural energy? In the original work, Naruto was practicing Sage Mode in Mount Myaboku. Once there was an energy imbalance, Naruto was in danger of turning into a stone toad. But Naruto turned into a stone toad because he absorbed natural energy? Yugo was affected by natural energy because of an energy imbalance, not because of balance. What exactly is the toad oil in Mount Myaboku? Hinata feels that he has touched the edge of the truth, but because something is missing, he can't take the final step. Hinata thought of another sentence. As long as one is human, one must rely on one's own knowledge and cognition, and live by the constraints of that knowledge. That is called reality. But knowledge and cognition are vague things and reality is just an illusion. Humans live by their own obsessions. No matter from which point of view, Hinata's understanding of natural energy comes from the Sage Mode, and the Sage Mode comes from the three holy lands. But is the Senjutsu practiced by the toads of Mount Myaboku and the one practiced by Jiraiya and Naruto really the same Senjutsu? Hinata no longer thinks about everything about the Sage Mode, and only uses the information he has personally investigated to analyze it. Natural energy can turn Naruto into a stone toad, make Yugo lose his mind, and turn the Jubi into a monster that only knows how to destroy, and even have lower intelligence than the nine-tailed beasts. These are the disadvantages of natural energy. But natural energy can also make ninjas stronger. Let the creatures of the three holy lands live for thousands of years, and let the people of Otsutsuki evolve. So between spiritual energy, physical energy, and natural energy, in addition to the balance of the Sage Mode, is there another balance ratio? And this balance ratio not only allows the use of chakra, but also allows the human body to absorb natural energy. Many examples in his previous life tell Hinata that there is more than one balance ratio between different substances. The same is true of pharmacology. Sometimes a certain medicinal material only needs to be added a little more, and the original good medicine will become poison. As for filtration, the toads of Mount Myaboku may have used toad oil to filter the bad elements in natural energy, and the Otsutsuki clan used the sacred tree to filter it. Hinata even thought of his initial judgment of the sage mode. Originally, Hinata thought that as long as Jiraiya has been maintaining the sage mode, he can cultivate the sage mode, and thought that Hashirama's sage mode is also cultivated. But it turns out that this is wrong. Hashirama's sage mode is inherited, and Jiraiya is also a veteran ninja. His senses are sharper than Hinata's. If Hinata can find something, how can Jiraiya not find it? So Hinata can come to a judgment that the sage mode is just a way to apply natural energy. Who should I find to do the experiment? Hinata's current situation is that he knows how it is, but he doesn't know why it is. Hinata's sage body was obtained by absorbing Urushi's chakra, not by her own cultivation. People who can play with computers may not necessarily be able to make computers. I can only trouble father. Hinata can only think of Hyogo. With Hyogo's current strength, plus Hinata can control natural energy, he can cooperate with Hinata to do the experiment. Dressed, Hinata ran to the door of Hyogo's bedroom. His hand that was about to knock on the door suddenly stiffened. But he doesn't know why. Hinata suddenly has a very strong desire to knock on the door. Chapter 321. Bang, bang, bang. A series of knocks sounded. Hinata waved her small hands and knocked hard on Hyogo's bedroom door. Who is it? Hyuga Minako complained. Hyuga Hayashi opened his eyes in a daze and looked out of the window. The sky was hazy and slightly bright. It was not even 6 o'clock yet. Early in the morning, was she tired of living? Hinata still didn't have the heart to disturb her parents' happy life last night. She hesitated at the door for a long time before finally going back to sleep. Her parents were applauding for love. Hinata couldn't remind them to change their position, could she? However, Hinata was hiding something in her heart and couldn't fall asleep. She tossed and turned in bed for half the night before finally falling asleep. She woke up after a few hours. Except for the first day of school and the first survival exercise of Class 7, Hinata had never woken up so early. Bang! The bedroom door was pushed open. Hyogo's face darkened as he looked down at Hinata standing at the door with an obedient expression. Good morning, father. Hinata bowed in the standard posture of a noble lady with a formulaic smile on her face. Thank you for your hard work last night, father. Hyogo, what's the matter? Hyogo's face darkened. His tone was stiff as he said, It's rare for you to wake up so early. And listening to Hinata's words, did she come last night? Hinata's expression didn't change. She crossed her hands on her lower abdomen and said politely, Your daughter has a very important matter to consult father about. It's about the confusion of cultivation. Crack. Hyogo's hand holding the door frame unconsciously tightened. The wooden door frame was crushed into powder. Hyogo's face was dark. He was already annoyed to be disturbed early in the morning. When he heard Hinata say that she wanted to consult about cultivation, Hyogo almost exploded. You came here early in the morning just to beat me up? Hinata glanced at the spot where Hyogo had crushed it. Was that a threat? After a moment of silence, Hyogo said grumpily, Wait for me. After returning to his room and putting on his clothes, Hyogo walked out with a straight face. He glanced at Hinata and lightly said, Let's go. Hinata said obediently, Yes, father. After arriving at the training room with Hyogo, Hyogo walked to the opposite side of Hinata and assumed the starting position of the gentle fist. His face had a heroic expression. Come on. 3 question marks appeared on Hinata's head. I'm not here to fight with you. What are you doing? Besides, if he wanted to spar, Hinata wasn't in a hurry. Hinata waved his hand and said, Not for sparring. There really is a cultivation problem. After hearing Hinata's words, Hyogo also realized the seriousness of the matter. With Hinata's talent, he had never consulted Hyogo about cultivation since he was young. Usually, whatever Hyogo taught Hinata would be able to learn immediately. This made Hyogo feel very unaccomplished. Since Hinata had encountered a cultivation problem, it must not be a small problem. Sit down and talk. Kneeling on the ground, Hyogo said seriously, "Is there anything you don't understand about cultivation?" Yes. Hinata nodded vigorously and quickly said, "Father, have you heard of the 3 holy lands?" Hyogo nodded slightly. Hinata explained, "Since I started cultivating sage mode, I have been thinking about a problem. Our Hyuga clan's ancestor, Otsutsuki Kagaya, had the ability of immortality. Toad Sage of Mount Mayaboku, White Snake Sage of Ryuchi Cave, and Katsuyu Sage of Shikatsu Forest have also lived for thousands of years. So what is the reason? After many years of research, coupled with my intelligence, I've finally discovered the key problem. It's natural energy." Seeing that Hyogo was listening attentively, Hinata continued, "The nutrients that the Tree of God and the 3 holy lands need are all natural energy. They first filter out the unfavorable factors in natural energy, and then let the body absorb natural energy to maintain the continuation of life." Speaking of this, Hinata suddenly felt a little embarrassed. "Father, you also know that I improved my physique because I absorbed Otsutsuki's chakra. But if I want to do natural energy experiments, I can only use other people to do the experiments." Hyogo, this is really a dog's day. Originally, Hyogo thought that Hinata was in a bad mood, and came early in the morning to beat him up to improve his mood. Who would have thought that Hinata came early in the morning to do experiments on him? It is said that a daughter is a father's intimate little cotton-padded jacket. Why is my daughter? Alas, it's really hard to explain in a few words. Even the well-behaved and obedient fireworks went a little astray, tearful. Seeing Hyogo's pale face, Hinata quickly explained, "Father, don't worry, this experiment will not be dangerous. If the energy is out of control, I will help you dispel the natural energy in time to ensure your safety and painless." Natural energy? If he ignored Hinata, who was trying to pretend to be a well-behaved girl, but said something that deserved a beating, Hinata's theory was still very attractive to Hyogo. No one doesn't want to live forever, and Hyogo naturally also wants it. Not only does he want to live forever, but he also wants his whole family to live forever. If immortality is just an illusion, Hyogo will definitely reprimand Hinata, and let Hinata cherish the present and not think about other things. But there is a precedent for immortality in the ninja world. I remember you said before that if natural energy is fused with chakra, it can become Senjutsu chakra. Hinata nodded and explained, "Well, that's right. But Sage Mode can only use natural energy, but can't absorb natural energy. I have never found the reason. Kekkei Genkai can be inherited because of a special physique." Hinata shook his head. But some Kekkei Genkai are actually cultivated. The Kekkei Genkai chakra is different from ordinary chakra. This special chakra will change the ninja's physique, and thus be inherited through the physique. Well, it should be a genetic change. Hyuga Hayashi had a confused expression on his face. Although he still can't quite understand this point of view, but thinking about it carefully, it is very reasonable. Hinata continued, "That's why I want to do an experiment with natural energy to see if natural energy can be absorbed by the human body together with chakra." "I probably understand what you mean." Hizashi pondered for a moment and said in a deep voice, "If we don't use chakra for combat and cultivation, most of it will be wasted. But when our body is tired, chakra can also be converted into physical energy to restore the tired body. So you want to try the possibility of chakra?" Chapter 322. Hinata scratched his head and said with a puzzled expression, "That's probably what it means. It's just that the spiritual and physical energy in chakra first absorbs natural energy, and then returns to our bodies. In short, I haven't tested it, so I don't know the specific situation. Naruto's transformation into a stone toad, and Yugo's loss of sanity, seemed to be the result of their bodies directly absorbing natural energy. This was because they were affected by natural energy, because of energy imbalance. But was chakra the cause of this? If he wanted to solve this puzzle, he would have to test it. Hyogo thought for a while and asked, Hinata, how do you want to test it? Byakugan. Activating Byakugan, Hinata entered Sage mode to condense natural energy. His hands clenched and condensed natural energy between his hands. This is very simple for us Hyuga family. Hyogo nodded slightly, and after activating Byakugan, he also condensed chakra in his hands. The natural energy condensed by Hinata was still the most essential natural energy in nature, and it hasn't been labeled with any labels. Hinata carefully controlled the natural energy and fused it with Hyogo's chakra. This method seems to be a bit like a combination ninjutsu. Hyogo sensed for a moment and said, Chakra is indeed a bit different. Hyogo couldn't perceive natural energy. His Byakugan could only see Hinata's hands clenched, but he couldn't see what was in Hinata's hands. However, when Hinata controlled the natural energy and fused it with Hyogo's chakra, he instantly perceived the change in chakra. This was a qualitative change. Compared to the previous chakra, the current chakra was at least 10 times more powerful. Hinata reminded, Father, I'm going to change the ratio. Hyogo nodded. Understood. When nature energy is smaller than chakra, it will not go out of control, because we are controlling it. However, this ratio wouldn't increase the power of the technique, nor would it allow him to enter immortal mode. The proportion of natural chakra was lower than chakra, which was a bit like Minato's situation. Namake's Minato couldn't enter Sage mode, but he could use natural chakra. That was because he could only turn part of the chakra in his body into Senjutsu chakra, and not all chakra into Senjutsu chakra. Therefore, there was no need to test the ratio of nature ability to chakra. On the other hand, if the nature energy was higher than chakra, it would go out of control. Hinata carefully infused more natural energy into Hyogo's chakra. This scale experiment was rather similar to the sandbag-sized fist technique. Hinata had previously tried to adjust the scale of the immortal technique chakra, but it was only a simple experiment. Hyogo's face turned dignified. When the immortal technique chakra in his hand became imbalanced, Hyogo keenly felt that there was energy flowing through his meridians into his body. It was a strange feeling, but he could feel the explosion of this energy. Is this natural energy? Suddenly thinking of something, Hyogo asked in a deep voice, Hinata, the first condition for practicing Sage mode is to perceive natural energy, right? Hinata's forehead was slightly sweating, and he could only nod in response. Hyogo continued, If you use this method to help me perceive natural energy, after I am familiar with natural energy, can I practice Sage mode? Boom. The chakra in Hinata's and Hyogo's hands exploded in an instant, and the two of them were shaken off at the same time. Hinata got up from the ground with a depressed face, patted his clothes, and looked at Hyogo with an aggrieved expression, complaining, Father-sama, this is such a serious time. Don't just let your imagination run wild. However, Hinata had to admit that Hyogo's imagination was very reasonable. Hyogo definitely couldn't enter the 3 Holy Lands. If he wanted to practice Sage mode, he could only perceive natural energy from the outside world like Hinata, and then absorb it into his body. Not to mention the danger of this practice method, just perceiving it was extremely difficult. But what if Hinata helped him perceive it? If Hyogo could do it, then all the jonins of the Hyuga family would be qualified to practice Sage mode. As long as the amount of chakra and control reached the standard, at least they would be half-baked like Namake's Minato. But Senjutsu chakra was very strong. For the ninjas of the Hyuga clan, even if it was just a little bit of chakra, it could be used as a trump card. After all, this was a major event related to the future of the Hyuga family. Hyogo didn't dare to be careless. He turned to look at Hinata and said seriously, Hinata, let's continue the experiment. Okay. Hinata and Hyogo sat back down and carefully controlled the flow of natural energy into chakra. When the proportion of natural energy was higher than chakra, the chakra immediately became unstable. However, the chakra used by Hinata and Hyogo for the experiment was very small. With the two of them controlling it together, there wouldn't be a complete loss of control. Hinata opened the Byakugan and stared at the chakra, not daring to miss a moment. I'm going to integrate more natural energy. Hinata reminded and manipulated more natural energy into Hyogo's chakra. Hyogo's forehead was sweating. This was already close to his full strength. If it weren't for Hinata's help, this chakra would have exploded in an instant. In addition to trying to control chakra, Hyogo also had to perceive natural energy. As long as Hyogo can pass this level and perceive natural energy in nature, he will be qualified to practice Sage Mode. Hinata carefully controlled the proportion and observed every moment of chakra. The balance of chakra was actually using one's own chakra to control natural energy and let natural energy fuse with one's own chakra. When natural energy is lower than chakra, one can use chakra to maintain the stability of natural energy. When the two reach a certain proportion, natural energy will reach a balance and become Sage Mode chakra. When natural energy is higher than chakra, there will be an imbalance and it will go out of control. However, when the proportion of natural energy is higher than chakra and reaches a certain proportion, natural energy will reverse control chakra. According to Naruto's description, Hinata always believed that natural energy was extremely violent and could go out of control if one wasn't careful. When Hinata was practicing Sage Mode, natural energy gave Hinata a violent feeling. However, was natural energy really that violent? Natural energy was everywhere in nature. If natural energy was really violent, humans would have long lost their minds due to this violent energy. Chapter 323. In the process of experimenting with nature energy, Hinata suddenly came up with an idea. The nature of nature energy was actually nature, so it did not have the characteristic of berserk. When we cultivate immortal arts, the reason why nature energy is so violent and difficult to control and maintain balance is because you want to control it. Anyone who is controlled by someone else will resist, right? But it is also because of this that nature energy is difficult to control. Only when nature energy is in balance with chakra will it stabilize, indicating that it will not interfere with chakra. In other words, when chakra wants to be the big brother of nature's energy will rise up and become irritable. And it will even backfire on the human body. But if the ratio of nature energy is far greater than chakra, and even if it can control chakra, will it return to its original state of nature? If there is a balance between chakra and nature energy, then it is to acknowledge nature energy as the big brother, and let nature energy dominate everything. Thinking of this, Hinata said, "Father, when I say yes, give up control of chakra." Hyogo nodded with a serious expression. Hinata looked up at Hyogo and reminded him, "Be careful." With that, Hinata suddenly increased the output of nature energy, making the ratio of nature energy to chakra's body. Then he shouted, "Done." Hyogo did not dare to delay, and immediately gave up control of chakra. The training room instantly quieted down. Hinata and Hyogo focused all their attention on chakra, and at the same time, prepared to defend. There was no explosion. The ball of chakra completely quieted down and stayed quietly in Hyogo's hands, as if everything around it had nothing to do with it. Did it succeed? Hinata asked with uncertainty in his heart. According to Hinata's imagination, if chakra worships nature energy as the big brother, it will no longer be controlled, and will it be able to stabilize? Just like the ubiquitous nature energy, it will be quiet and ignore everything. But as the big brother, shouldn't it be loyal and take care of chakra as its little brother? Seeing that his little brother's chakra is so weak, will the natural energy give back to him and help him grow? Hinata asked softly, "Father, do you feel anything?" Hyogo's hair was already wet. He shook his head and said softly, "I don't feel anything. This chakra doesn't seem to be mine." Hinata said softly, "Do you want to try controlling it?" Even though there were no outsiders in the training room and nature energy should not be able to hear anything, Hinata and Hyogo still did not dare to speak loudly, for fear of provoking nature energy and causing it to explode. Hyogo ignored Hinata and carefully sensed for a moment. Suddenly, he said, "It seems like it wants to disperse." Hinata nodded slightly. With Byakugan and nature's perception, Hinata could sense that nature energy wanted to bring chakra back to nature and disperse from Hyogo's hands. Hinata and Hyogo carefully controlled chakra and did not let chakra disperse. They carefully observed every change in chakra. From this experiment, Hinata roughly understood the three types of interaction between chakra and nature energy. The first type was to force nature energy to become chakra's underling. At this time, nature energy would revolt. When nature energy was lower than chakra, chakra could still suppress nature energy. However, if nature energy was higher than chakra, nature energy would immediately retaliate against chakra. The second type was the path of balance. It was similar to how well water does not interfere with the river water. The third type was to worship nature energy as a big brother. The ratio of nature energy to chakra was much higher than chakra, allowing nature energy to control chakra instead. From the balance of well water, not interfering with the river water, to the balance of submitting to each other, the nature of these two types of balance was completely different. Humans were insignificant in the face of nature. If we wanted to obtain benefits from nature, we should not destroy nature. Instead, we should go along with it and let nature take the initiative to reciprocate. Hinata had already experienced the consequences of destroying nature in his previous life. Once nature was angry, the consequences were extremely terrifying. There seems to be a change. After waiting quietly for more than an hour, Hinata suddenly exclaimed. His eyes flashed with uncontrollable joy. There really was a change. Chakra was still chakra. Nature energy was still nature energy. Compared to before, there was no change in the ratio of the two. However, chakra's nature had changed a little. It was almost undetectable. Hearing Hinata's words, Hyogo also seemed to have noticed it. His face was filled with disbelief. Hinata, we have solved the mystery of human longevity. Hyogo's voice was filled with excitement. His body was trembling slightly, but he tried his best to maintain the stability of his hands. If Hinata had not suddenly glanced at Hyogo, he would not have noticed such a small change. This chakra was Hyogo's chakra. However, it was completely different from the chakra in Hyogo's body. Hinata was so excited that he almost cried. This was the first time Hinata had put so much effort into something. Now that he felt the joy of success, this sense of accomplishment made Hinata's head feel dizzy. In a daze, it seemed as if something was quickly flowing into Hinata's eyes. However, Hinata did not have the energy to care about this at this moment. Nature energy was feeding back chakra. If this chakra was converted into spiritual and physical energy, one's life force would be strengthened. When this strengthening accumulated to a certain extent, it would allow one to evolve. Thus, there was no filter at all. Hinata still had no way of understanding how the tree of God grew. However, Hinata felt that he had completely deciphered the secrets of the three holy lands. Yugo's village was near the Ryuchi cave. The Ryuchi cave itself would absorb nature energy. Thus, the nature energy near the Ryuchi cave would become violent. However, nature energy was close to nature. If one did not control it, it would not affect one. In fact, as long as one cultivated immortal mode, even if one was outside of the three holy lands, one could enter immortal mode at any time. Even so, the three holy lands still needed to gather a large amount of nature energy. Thus, the three holy lands' goal was not to cultivate immortal techniques in the dense nature energy, but to maintain the balance between nature energy and chakra. Because of this, the three holy lands needed such a large amount of nature energy. Chapter 324. After figuring out the problem that had puzzled him for a long time, Hinata's heart was very happy. He always felt that he had done a great thing, and an indescribable sense of accomplishment made Hinata's whole body float. If the person opposite him wasn't Hyogo, but Hua, Hinata wouldn't be able to help but jump up and give her a big bear hug, and then a few kisses. But when he saw Hyogo's rigid poker face, Hinata suppressed the excitement in his heart. It wouldn't be good if Hyogo misunderstood. Cough cough. Hyogo at this moment was thinking about what changes this matter would bring to the Hyuga family. If the Hyuga family could use this method to perceive natural energy, and even cultivate sage mode, then some things that he didn't dare to think about before could now be imagined. Desire is something that is difficult to fill. Hyogo felt that he had a relatively tolerant personality, but with the improvement of his ability, some ambition gradually took over Hyogo's heart. Hinata. Hyogo looked at Hinata and called Hinata back. Let's try the feasibility of perceiving natural energy. Hinata nodded. Okay. Perceiving natural energy is actually very difficult, especially in places outside the three holy lands, where natural energy is extremely thin. But if Hinata helps Hyogo condense natural energy, then Hinata can create a place with natural energy density, no less than the three holy lands. Moreover, Hyogo is not the Hyogo of the past. After absorbing Urishi's chakra and opening the Rinnegan, Hyogo even has the hope of reaching Nagato's strength. In Hinata's view, the possibility of Hyogo cultivating Sage Mode is very high. But the world often doesn't change according to one's will. After practicing with Hyogo for the whole morning, Hinata was called to Naruto's office by the Umbu. There are so many people. When Hinata arrived, there were already more than 20 jonins and Tokubetsu jonins in Naruto's office. Hinata stood obediently at the back of the team. Senior Xianjian, did something happen? Hinata raised his head and looked at Mystic Flame Genma, who was standing beside him, and asked curiously, looking at this situation, is there really going to be a war? Maihua Genma held the book in his mouth and said arrogantly, who knows? But summoning so many jonins at once, I don't think it's a trivial matter. Hinata was secretly angry. I don't know which shinobi village in the shinobi world has such poor eyesight. It's really lacking in society. Hyogo wants to cultivate Sage Mode, and Hinata also wants to study the method of life evolution. To start a war at this time, it's clear that Hinata can't live with herself. When all the ninjas arrived, Tsunade stood in front of everyone and said in a clear voice, the latest information. The Cloud Village has gathered 2,000 ninja troops at the border. Although the Cloud troops haven't entered the Land of Fire yet, they have seriously threatened the safety of the Land of Fire. In the face of a war that may break out at any time, we shinobu must respond immediately. Sure enough, the situation in the shinobi world has changed. All the ninjas became serious when they heard this. Even Gunma, who had always been sloppy, became serious. Looking around, Tsunade said in an imposing manner, a total of 2,000 ninja troops have been gathered. Kakashi will be the captain of the ninja troops, and Asuma will be the vice captain. All ninjas will listen to the dispatch and immediately set off to the Land of Fire's border. Jinin will be the captain of the medical team, leading 300 medical ninjas. Speaking of this, Tsunade's tone was slightly relaxed. Our purpose is to peacefully resolve the conflicts between the countries, so before the Cloud Village crosses the border, Shinobu will not be the first to provoke the Cloud Village. But if the Cloud Village dares to step into the Land of Fire, you don't have to worry. The group of ninjas responded, yes. Tsunade looked at the crowd and said in a clear voice, because this is an emergency call, now I will give you 1 hour to prepare, and after 1 hour, gather at the gate of Shinobu. As soon as the words fell, Tsunade waved his hand. Disperse. Returning to the Hyuga residence with a sigh, Hinata packed up her luggage and dragged the two gluttons out of the room. These two fat guys don't seem to have any goals in life. Their daily life is to eat and sleep and eat. Unless they go out to relieve themselves, as long as there is food, they won't leave the room. Get up quickly, it's time to work. Hinata went up and kicked each of them, pulled Raijin and Fujin and ran to the gate of Shinobu. The ninja army has been assembled. In a large-scale ninja war, the captain can be regarded as a marshal, the rest of the jonins are generals, and the soldiers are chunin-level ninjas. As for the genin, unless there is a special case, or the situation is so tense that even the children have to be sent to the battlefield, the village generally won't send genin to join the main battle force. Those veteran genin are too cumbersome to be cannon fodder. Hinata, come here. Seeing Hinata standing in the corner, a little dazed, Kakashi greeted and asked Hinata to stand beside him. Kakashi-sensei. Turning his head and looking around, Hinata asked in an inexplicable tone, is there really going to be a war? Kakashi lowered his voice and said, war won't break out easily, and the actions of the Cloud Village and us are just to show the attitude of both sides. The negotiations between the village's leaders will really affect the direction of the situation in the ninja world. Hinata nodded in understanding. The Cloud Village's actions must be to threaten Shinobu with war and make him agree to their unreasonable demands. In fact, the Cloud Village has done such a thing more than once, and Shinobu's actions are just to tell the ninja world that Shinobu is not afraid of war. However, whether Shinobu and the Cloud Village will go to war or not depends on the negotiations between the two villages, and whether one side can compromise first. Even the attitude of the other villages will affect whether this war will break out or not. After thinking about it, Kakashi turned to Hinata and reminded him, "Hinata, as my assistant, don't act at will." Okay. Regarding the matter of being entrusted with a heavy responsibility by Kakashi, Hinata's heart was quite happy. After all, her strength and ability were there. But thinking about it carefully, he felt that something was wrong. "Kakashi-sensei, are you worried that I will cause trouble?" Hinata's eyes curved, and a gentle smile appeared on his face. "Not at all." Kakashi denied without blinking. "Your ability will play a great role in the coming war, and you have the experience of serving as Naruto's secretary. I let you be my assistant because I have full trust in you." Hinata said non-committally, "So that's the case." After thinking about it, Hinata asked again, "Kakashi-sensei, can you tell me what's so good about my ability?" You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.